From the corner, and it rattles home.
Wow, baby. Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Oh, look at that block float,
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
And so they'll take that penalty, not the play, make it a 3rd and 5. Prescott has time over the middle, caught for the touchdown, Amari Cooper.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
This is Brown right here. Stops, scoops it up and in. Wow! Oh my God!
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
It is the eve of National Signing Day. Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com. Craig Smoak and Grayson do the weekly Bearcast, hitting on what Baylor's trying to do to wrap up their class of 2022, at least the first chapter of it. And we'll have a couple of players who will sign tomorrow with Baylor on tomorrow's show. Also, Jeremy Crabtree of On3.com, national analyst. He's been at all of those along the way that have propped us, sprouted up over the years from rivals, etc. He'll join us today at 3:45. And then also today, SMU football coach Rhett Lashley. Initially, we had him scheduled for 4. We'll have him in the end or late in the 5 o'clock hour. Craig Smoak to my right. Paul Catalina to my left. I'm David Smoak, and we appreciate you. The chat room is already going. Jack McKenzie and Armstrong Sims are here to run the mothership as well. Mac Rhodes will join us today at 4:20. So I'm going to name these schools. Tell me what tell me what this means really, and I probably nothing. Alabama, A&M, Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas, Penn State, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Clemson, and maybe throw in Florida State, and that's about it. So who are those?
Those are schools with that spend a lot of money on football.
Well, and they're also the ones ranked right now currently among the top 10 or 12 schools when it comes to National Signing Day and the team rankings. That is a big deal. How many of those schools this year met their expectations?
Alabama did. Georgia did. Notre Dame did. I guess since Ohio State missed the playoff, they did not. Penn State did not. North Carolina did not. Oklahoma did not. Clemson
Texas did not. Clemson, A&M. Some of them were disappointment compared to the expectations, but it's a big deal. I mean, Alabama and Georgia, they usually are 1 and 2. Texas has won this before. Oklahoma, Georgia, others, Ohio State. So is national sign? This is for the audience. Is college football, have they lost their innocence because of all the changes? Are you as entrenched in National Signing Day as you were before because it's changed so much with the transfer portal, with the NIL? Craig Smoak, you followed it for a long, long time. I even sense you start to kind of maybe this is a little bit different than it was even 3, 4, 10 years ago.
Well, I think we're all lying if we think that there was innocence to begin with. Like, I mean, to me, all it did was just rip off what it is. I mean, what? So, SMU launches an NIL deal today with Eric Dickerson. That's basically what they got the death penalty for, is what they're now just going to be doing out in the open and call it, pony up NIL or whatever they want to, whatever name these schools attach to it. They're all the same anyways, really. And so now they're just doing it out in the open rather than boosters doing it under the table. So I think that the whole innocence thing is kind of a mirage to begin with. I do think that in terms of it being based around the school and the identity of a student athlete, that's being lost entirely. These kids aren't going to school for school, and you can argue that they weren't. A lot of them weren't anyways, but now they're not even going to school for like tomorrow, 50% of the guys that sign could very well be in the transfer portal in a year. Like, that's what the transfer portal's now done. Like, last year, what was Ohio State doing at this time? Quinn Ewers, baby, woo! We got Quinn Ewers. And what did he do at Ohio State? A big drop of nothing. So, that's what the transfer portal's done. I don't think the innocence part of it, I think it's become way too much about, the money just out in the wide open. And now that's all that we talk about is money. It's NIL, it's coaches' salaries, it's bowl payoffs, it's all that. That's all it is. And, I think it's just kind of shine more of a light on that being what it is. But now I think that the folks that really have no issues with it being that way are full force gung-ho and just yep, let's just go. Let's just, let's buy rosters and, it's just until we're told no, we're just going to, do as much as we possibly want to. And that's what you're seeing left and right now. There's no legislation governing any of this. It's just wide open, Wild West. Pay who you want to, play for you. And it's kind of wild. But I do think in terms of, the signing day aspect of it, again, Quinn Ewers last year, big whoop-de-doo for Ohio State, meant nothing in the long run. Texas misses out on him, meant nothing in the long run. Look, a bunch of schools tomorrow are going to miss out and not sign the right quarterback. Doesn't matter. Just go to the transfer portal a year later. So, I think that college football's ruined signing day in a lot of ways because these guys aren't tied in any way to these schools anymore, basically. They've got pretty much free reign to just come and go as they want to. Now, I know eventually that's going to get back to normal or whatever, but are you mean to tell me they're going to now start telling players what they can't do? Because they're sure as hell not doing it right now. They're basically doing whatever they want to.
The genie's out of the box.
Yeah, so that's not changing because as soon as they try to put it back in the bottle, here comes some law firm, repped by, here comes an O'Bannon lawsuit or something. That's what happens now. So college football, I don't know what they do about, trying to corral some of this, and some of it's great, but as far as signing day goes, this used to be appointment television, and to me, as somebody who's followed recruiting for over 20 years, I've followed it since at least the year 2000 when it was just Rivals or just Max Emfinger or whatever. Now I see a commit come down and I'm like, cool. It's like whatever to me because I don't know if that guy's even ever going to play there. I don't know if he's even going to be there past a year, and maybe he's a Jalen Petrie or Terrell Bernard, but a lot of days now they're a Quinn Ewers, and I think that's unfortunate.
Well, I think the NCAA and National Signing Day is the victim of this. If one of them is when you decide that you are not going to even make an effort to meet things halfway and grasp change, what happens is when you lose because you weren't willing to meet halfway, then you lose the whole way.
Yep.
So instead of going, all right, well, we're going to have to let go of the reins on some of this stuff and find a better way to do it, they just lose completely. So complete lack of action and foresight and no, this is how things are. The way that thinking that this will never work, things have always gone this way. Why in the world would anybody want to do this? We have this model that's worked since the 20s, all these different things that they have. Well, the minute you start thinking that, you've already lost, because believe me, somebody out there is going, so why wouldn't it work? Why can't it be this way? And we're not going to stop until you see it our way, or you're forced to do it. And what's happened with the O'Bannon lawsuit and everything subsequently is the NCAA has refused to go, okay, well, I see your point. And the thing about the O'Bannon lawsuit that I think is kind of interesting and funny is, in just a minor example of, in no way, like when Chris Webber was complaining about it at Michigan and all this stuff, in no way did they go, yeah, I guess that is his name. I mean, because
they had so much power and turf, they didn't have to think that way.
Yeah, but I mean, at no point did they, or even acknowledge, all right, well, let's try to find a middle ground here, because if I was walking through and seeing my face or my jersey number in a store, I'd be like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's not, I didn't say anything you could do that.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have to react to it. They weren't forced to. Then they were forced to, and they just chose to sit on their hands, basically. And look, I don't want to take the fun out of signing day by any means. A lot of people are going to be celebrating big days tomorrow. A lot of teams are going to be celebrating great classes. But, I mean, I'm not going to sit up here in front. I never do that. I never try to be fake with the audience. And so for me to be like, oh yeah, just signing day, just like normal, just to keep everybody happy, I'm simply not going to do that, because it's true, at least in my opinion, that a lot of the umph of signing day has been wiped out by the fact that it really doesn't mean anything that these guys are signing tomorrow past next year. Typically a guy signs and you're like, hey, we got him for 4 years, and now, I saw somebody, it was interesting. I wish I could remember who asked this, but saw Bryce Petty. He commented on all the transfer quarterbacks, which, has been kind of a weird thing to see. But I guess the new trend is all these quarterbacks jumping in the transfer portal. And somebody commented to him, what are the odds that you'd stayed at Baylor as long as you did when he was a backup and he had to sit for 3 years? He never would have stayed at Baylor. He would have been gone. He would have been gone to Tennessee on some NIL deal after his freshman year because he wasn't playing. And that's what it's turned into now, where there's not going to be any Bryce Petties. There's not going to be anybody waiting around for 3 years for their opportunity. No, they're going to go to whatever school's willing to take them. And I mean, yeah, it's kind of wild. So tomorrow will be great and it'll be cool and you'll sign your guys and it'll be all fun and everything. And it's the off season basically, although we still have bowl season remaining. But yeah, it's just beyond next year. It doesn't guarantee anything, and I think that kind of sucks. I think that sucks big time that you can't really invest in these guys because you don't know if they're going to, just up and take their ball and go home after a few months because they're not in a starting position.
We'll have a couple of young men that will sign with Baylor tomorrow. Two of them both of them courted by Texas Tech when Joey McGuire went to Lubbock, and both, one who plays in West Texas, another one that is up in the Dallas and Fort Worth area. They'll join us tomorrow. I just saw this where Baylor, Tizino, the young man out of Ellison and Killeen, which is a local school, was down to TCU, Nebraska, and today made his commitment just recently to Baylor, Devontae Tizino. So that's something that's an add to the class. I saw a tweet from somebody that runs a website that covers Texas, who was promoting that the offensive line coach Flood at UT is about to have. I did too. It should be maybe the greatest single
he should be recruiter of the year.
Recruiter of the year for offensive linemen.
Best O-line class that Texas has ever signed.
Yes, yeah. and yet maybe it's the NIL part that should get the recruiter of the year. And I'm not saying, hey, if you can do it, do it. If you can do it, but don't tell me that it's a coach, an assistant, or whoever, when all of a sudden the landslide has happened since they announced the $50,000 a year.
That's the thing.
And here's another thing about Texas. They're in the top 10 all the time. It's not like they have not always had top 5 or 10 classes. The problem with this is what do they do once they get them on campus and maybe maybe this is the staff that can cultivate them.
That's the most naive thing in the world to go, man, this guy is one hell of a recruiter. He is getting these fish in the boat. How's he doing it?
Yeah.
What's he saying?
Yeah.
Nothing. He doesn't say anything. Where else are you going to go that there's a nearly fraudulent front company that's going to, for charity, give you $50,000 a year?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how they've gotten all these O-line commits in the last week since that was announced, because that's where all of them have come from. They've all come in like the last 4 days since that was announced. So, no, he doesn't deserve Recruiter of the Year honors. I'd say that goes to like Tim the Booster, who's the one like fronting half the money for charity or whatever. That guy deserves Recruiter of the Year honors. I mean, if you want to be like, hey, Coach Flood deserves like best bought O-line, then sure, that's what he got. But he didn't. Recruiter of the Year, spare me. All this has come since that announcment. So, hey,
and how about the timing of the announcement?
And then, I mean, that's not surprising. That was well thought out and very well schemed. And it just so happened to come right before National Signing Day. Weird how that happens. Weird how that was the position that they needed the most, and just suddenly that's, of all the position groups, that's the one that's like the big charity all of a sudden right before signing day. So, yeah, I mean, it is, and that's what I'm saying, too. It's like it is what it is, but, if you were in the running for one of those kids, right, and you were actually, like, just flat-out recruiting them. Now, I'm sure you probably dipped in the NIL talk, but, like, if you're, okay, I don't even know who's recruiting most of these guys. I know some of them had a bunch of various, offers or whatever. Like, if you're a South Carolina fan or something that was in the running, and the dude just picks Texas because hey, we're going to pay you $50,000 just to show up here and show up at practice, like, that's, you miss out, and that happens in recruiting, but it's I think a little bit more of a bitter pill to swallow when you're just like, yeah, you just lost them to $50,000 NIL. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing they just choose them because, like, that's the hotter team or that's the whatever. And I know that a lot of these decisions, like Eric Dickerson and a Trans Am, was happening back in the 80s. Like, I know that's no different, but just it all being out in the open like this and getting to the point of where you're just saying, like, hey, $50,000 to show up here and play, I just think that sucks, man. I really do. That's not fun to me. Even if it is closer to reality than whatever, like, little bubble we were living in, I'd rather be naive and be in the bubble and acknowledge, like, yeah, it happens, but let's not focus on that rather than it be all about NIL all the time, because, man, I feel like that's all I hear about at this point.
From Mr. Wonderful, Texas has systematic issues. They would probably need 25 stars to win in spite of itself, and this is Pill Superfan forever. Bitter people. Flood is a good recruiter, maybe not the best, but I think we had good shots at some of them. There's a difference, not a bitter pill.
No.
Let them all go down there. And if they end up winning with him, that's fine, because they're not going to be the only school that's doing that. But the point is, don't act like he's the greatest recruiter on earth all of a sudden when all the timing of this, and you had a chance at some of them, but you're going to get all of them.
Right.
And is it even going to make a difference? Because you've had some of them and all of them at some point before, and we've seen the last decade of what's happened.
And right.
That's the point.
And right now, Texas can do that. And Kyle Flood can look like a great recruiter because he can go in and say that because no one else has copied that. But guess what's going to happen if it works? Then everybody's going to figure out a way to do that.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. And, right now, and they'll be NCAA, they'll say things like they have said about BYU and Miami, but ultimately they'll lose trying to investigate those and it won't work. And so this will just perpetuate itself. So, yeah, and not knocking Kyle Flood, but again, he's not,
No, it's not a bitter pill. He's not a recruiter of the year when they bought an offensive line over the last 2 weeks. Like, it's nothing against him. It's nothing against Texas because, like you said, SMU started something up today. Miami's been doing stuff like all this, and I'm not pointing at one school. I'm talking about in general. And so, yeah, like, that's the whole point on Flood. Like, good coach. I'm sure he's a good recruiter when he actually is naturally recruiting, and it's not just as simple as, like, 50 G's right away, and that's what it is, and that's all we're saying, man.
Well, he's fishing with dynamite.
It's also interesting that everyone that used to beat Texas that ended up on probation once they did, and that some of them were cheating. They were. And how that was just, oh my God. The point is that the whole thing is tomorrow's National Signing Day. Sign whoever you can. Get all your dogs. Get your 5 stars. Now can your coaches coach them? If they can't coach that, then you need to get rid of yet another coaching staff like you've been through already
and let's not focus
since Mac Brown left.
And let's not focus just on them, because they're not the only ones doing it, but it's making it sound like it's just that. No, we're not talking about just one school. I'm talking about in general.
About he's the recruiter of the year.
Talking about in general for all of college football. I mean, and you can say like, well, get over it, and like, okay, over it, just saying like I don't necessarily like it. That's my opinion, and I think it kind of sucks, but it is what it is, and it's the way of the land now, and every school will have to adopt and adapt and come up with their own NIL thing that they nicknamed something based on their mascot or whatever, and some charity that may or may not see that money, because it's not really the point of the whole thing. It's more about just the player, and like that's all fine. That's the world we live in, but yeah, to like just embrace it the way that we used to. I can't do like Devontae Tazzino. That's a great commit for Baylor, big time commit. I don't want to like poo-poo on the fact that he committed, and I don't want to poo-poo on his big day tomorrow and make it seem like it's not a big deal. That's a big commit for them. That's a good get, and I hope he's around for 4 years. But can I invest in him right away the way that I might 5-10 years ago? Maybe most college football fans can. I can't, because now I'm going to be looking at that roster and going, is he happy? Is he not happy? You know what I mean? And like, oh my God, if Texas launches a DNs for cancer charity or something, and every DN gets $45,000 and a slice goes to charity, like, am I going to think that, I wonder who's going to be looking around from, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the part that is kind of weird.
And one of the things, though, is if, again, you aren't doing that, you're going to have to make sure you continue to develop, and some schools have.
Yeah.
Like TCU under Gary Patterson for the longest of time, and now what they hope will be under Sonny Dykes, like Baylor under 4 different coaches since they've had Briles and then, of course, Rule and now Aranda.
Is it really?
Jalen Petrie, by the way, speaking of which, he was named yet to another All-American team. Sporting News, he's consensus. Every single All-American team, he's been first team across the board.
Is it really different though, other than it's just out in the open?
No,
I mean, it's the same.
No,
it's like, and that's the thing
not.
is like, I sound like I'm probably like hating college football, and I'm not. I just hate how out in the open it is, because it means that we have to talk about NIL deals more so than like the guy being on the roster next year. That's the part that I don't enjoy. Not against it. Pay the players, pay them as much as you want to. It's not my money. And props to Texas for, figured they're going to be one of the ones on the forefronts of it, and they were, and they still are behind the scenes, so to speak. They're still the school, like a TCU, like any school that's not a blue blood, really. They're going to have to develop. They're going to have to pick guys that aren't, flash for cash or worried about that.
Or cost of scholarship, that was one thing, and that's fine. But I always thought the NIL was going to be for name, image, and likeness.
Track of NIL. Just completely lose track of it. And I know there's there's an investigation into BYU or to, whatever. And like you said, that's all going to amount to a whole lot of nada, because then they would have to, that's going to be across the board. They're not going to punish everybody. So, yeah. I mean, it's a strange world we're living in. It's great for the players. I think it's good and bad for the coaches. I think it's good and bad for the players, even though it's great mostly for them. But yeah, the whole, it was supposed to be based on, your actual value. Now it's just like, so long as somebody needs an offensive lineman, you're worth $50,000 suddenly, no matter what. And that's just kind of weird.
Well, and it's amazing that other schools haven't come up with something similar. And if somebody did it first, that's great. It's like somebody invented something, even though it seemed like it was right in front of everybody. Well, Grayson Grundhafer will come back with us. He covers recruiting for Baylor on Sikkim 365. We'll talk to him about Tazzino. We'll also have Jeremy Crabtree, on3.com, national recruiting advisor or analyst. He'll join us today. We'll have a show tomorrow that covers not just what Baylor's doing tomorrow, but around the country as well. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They don't have any NIL deals that I know about. But
Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe gets a running backs for Richard Carr or something like that. If you're a running back, you get $25,000 to show up on campus, wherever that may be. But the way they don't have that, they got a lot of great deals going on right now. And the good news is they have some refreshed inventory. Supply chain issues have been plaguing car dealerships across the country. Hard to find cars and trucks right now, but they're on their way. Richard Carr is getting deliveries of new cars and trucks every week, and so now's the time to contact them and get on their inbound vehicle list so you can get your new car or truck as they arrive. And if you need a pickup, well, check out the GMC Sierra. It's got it all, power for a work site, luxury interior, and a drive for a night on the town. And Richard Carr also has more SUVs than any other dealer in the area. 11 SUV models to choose from with dozens of trim options. It's a one-stop shop to find that perfect SUV for your needs. Whether it's the fun and nimble Buick Encore, or perhaps the sophistication and luxury of a Cadillac Escalade, Richard Carr has the SUV you need in all sizes and price ranges. So call now, come by now, or go online to find the perfect SUV for your family. And if you need a car or truck today, you don't want to buy new or aren't looking to buy new, well, they've got a bunch of premium pre-owned cars and trucks available as well. All of them have been through a 172-point inspection, and 100% credit approval is always the goal. So go online or come by for a test drive today. Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership here in the Waco area. So give them a chance to earn your business with free oil changes on new cars and trucks, superior service after the sale, and, of course, great prices. Richard Carr, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears, and they look forward to seeing you at the dealership or in the stands.
American Bank has been serving Waco since 1952, and we're just getting started. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Over the past few years, we've been busy investing in new technology to give you the best banking experience possible. We've also expanded our downtown branch and built 2 state-of-the-art buildings at our Woodway and Belmead locations. With bright open lobbies plus fast personal interactive teller machines, everyone in Waco is now just minutes away from face-to-face banking. Visit us today and see how we're invested in serving you at American Bank. Member FDIC.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log in to BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'EM125 for a 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'EM200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125 and SICK'EM200.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio. Call us on the BetUS hotline, 254-339-1122.
Thanks to everybody on the chat room, man. It's going back and forth on the NIL, on this and that, and tomorrow National Signing Day. Today, Baylor did get, and we will cover nationally. Jeremy Crabtree of On3.com will join us. He's been covering recruiting around the country for quite some time. Some of the names have changed of where some of these analysts have worked or where they are now, but he'll join us in the next segment. We have Grayson Grunhafer, Sick'em365.com recruiting analyst, the Bearcast with Craig every Tuesday for an hour. So tell us about Devontae Tazzino and his commitment, and what does it mean to this class, Grayson? Thanks for your time.
Yeah, guys, this is a great pickup for the Bears. I mean, he was a guy who became a priority right after a summer camp, to be honest. He camped at Baylor on June 5th and then got the offer shortly after. He's got a nice offer list: Nebraska, TCU, Minnesota, Kansas State, Vanderbilt. So solid offer list, a very solid player, right around 6'4", 250. I think he's going to be, they're going to try to build him, I think, into the mold of a TJ Franklin, who was a little bit bigger than Tazzino at this time, but still a guy who, he had a lot of room to grow into his body. And we've seen TJ do that over the years, and I think Devontae can be built in a similar way and play a similar role for the Bears going forward. They needed help on the defensive line, and they got it with him. And obviously, I think the local connection, that helps. Baylor needs to do a good job in that Central Texas area, and this is one of those guys who they'd been recruiting from the area, and they were able to land him today. So this was a big one coming off of his official visit. And it just shows how well that official visit, I think, went for many of the prospects who were at Baylor over the weekend.
So, Grayson, was that make 17 or 16?
That makes 19. 19 commits. Yeah, 19 commits. And I think all of them will sign tomorrow. I know Jeremy Patton said his signing day ceremony won't be till, or Jeremy Evans, I guess. His ceremony is going January 10th. But I do believe that will just be his ceremony. I think he will still be signing during the early signing period.
So, Grayson, going back to Tazzino real quick, I know you're describing a little bit, but do you have any type of a comparison, or what kind of actual role? Is he a rush guy? Is he kind of run stuffer? How would you describe him?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, like I said, very similar to the role that TJ Franklin plays for Baylor. I think eventually he's going to try to be at that level. Now, if you watch his film, he kind of does a little bit of everything, really. He's not an elite pass rusher, but a solid pass rusher. He plays well against the run as well, can put his hand in the ground and really get after you. And I think the bigger thing is he's already 6'4", 250. And, we've talked about this a lot, Craig, on the podcast, on the Bearcast, that is, just talking about how, Baylor's taken a lot of guys that are, 6'4", 230 in the past, and then tried to put a ton of weight on them. Or, BJ Thompson, who is like 6'6", 215, and trying to put a ton of weight on him. Well, they're not going to have to worry about that with Tazzino, because he already has a very solid base and a solid weight already. If you get him on campus, you can kind of naturally build him up to the weight that will probably be his playing weight, which I believe will probably be around 280. It's probably going to be a good weight for him to get on the field.
We're talking to Grayson Grunhafer, Sick'em365.com, and again, recruiting analyst with us on Sick'em365 Radio, 365 Sports. Any surprises tomorrow? Is there somebody they're waiting for something to happen actually tomorrow?
Yeah, I actually think there's two big ones that are looming tomorrow. I guess you could say three as well. I'll get to the third one in a minute, but the first two are pretty obvious. So Lake High School, defensive lineman, this is out of Mississippi, Calvin Dinkins, I think he's going to be choosing between Florida, Mississippi State, and Baylor. He took his official visit to Baylor back in June. The staff really liked him, and he would fill in that Siaki Ika role as a nose tackle. He's 6'4", 310 already. Great arm length, great hand size. I think it's going to be a battle to the finish. And, those two SEC offers are pretty recent, whereas the Baylor connection has been there for a long time. So it's really a matter of, does he want the relationship or does he want, the school? Does he want the SEC program? And, being from the state of Mississippi, most of those kids go to Mississippi State or Ole Miss. So that's going to be a tough factor to get over. But I think the relationship Baylor has definitely gives them a chance in that recruitment. And then the other one is probably the biggest name of the day tomorrow, and that's Louisville 4-star wide receiver, top 150 player, Armani Winfield. He was a surprise official visitor over the weekend. Baylor's been recruiting him for a long time. It just was a matter of were they going to get an official visit, and they finally did. And Armani ended up being on campus over the weekend, getting a chance to really get to know the coaches even more on a personal level. He visited during the spring, even when he was committed to UT. So there's been a ton of relationship building with him, and it all culminates to tomorrow. And I kind of believe it's going to be between Texas, Michigan State, and Baylor. And right now, guys, I think Baylor might have the edge in his recruitment heading into tomorrow. And honestly, if you look across the state, if you're telling me that Baylor's got a recruiting class with Jordan Neighbors and Armani Winfield to go along with the 5 wide receivers they brought in last year, they've really done a nice job, or they will have done a nice job loading up that wide receiver room if they're able to land Armani tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Jordan Neighbors of Heath out of Rockwall will sign with Baylor, and he will join us, in fact, tomorrow. We do know that Texas Tech made a run at him because of the Joey McGuire connection. Kyler Jordan, who plays in Lubbock, out of Lubbock, he, of course, also there in that backyard, apparently, is sticking to Baylor as well. How much wins were those once Baylor could get on the road and get in front of these players and maybe calm the nerves a little bit?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The Joey McGuire relationship was solid in Jordan Neighbors' recruitment, but his bigger relationship was actually with James Blanchard. That's actually the guy who built an amazing connection with Jordan Neighbors. Those two are very, very close, and he was actually the first person to ever contact Jordan about Baylor. And so they built a great relationship, and that definitely played a role in his recruitment, along with Joey, because that's Joey's area, of course. And then Joey had a great relationship with Kyler Jordan as well. They actually did an in-home visit with Kyler Jordan, Texas Tech did. And, both of those guys have been locked into Baylor for a long time, and they just really, they need those in-home visits with Dave Aranda and with their position coaches, and just getting to see those guys again, I think really reaffirmed things for both of them. And ultimately, I think they were always going to end up Bears. But yeah, there was a stretch in there where I think, Tech was trying to make a run at them, and both of them just needed to kind of weigh in their options and decide where they truly wanted to be. And honestly, I think sometimes that's actually the best thing for a recruit, because those two guys, they didn't really have a tough decision the first time around. But then the second time, they kind of got to reaffirm their commitment. And a lot of times that can make your commitment even stronger. So I think it could be a really big positive for both of them in the long run.
How do you expect Baylor to use the transfer portal this year? Again, we haven't heard of a lot of guys transferring. The ones who are already kind of announced, but a long time ago. So how do you expect to see them get in there this year?
Oh, they're going to use it a lot, Paul. I think that there are direct areas that they're going to need to address through the portal. Specifically, a veteran wide receiver, I think, is an area that they could look at. A cornerback is definitely in need. I would expect them to take a transfer cornerback. I know Ohio State transfer Ryan Watts, he's out of Little Elm, Texas, and he's a guy who already has been contacted by Baylor. So there's been, a lot of kind of whispers here and there, but I think the biggest thing, Paul, honestly, is that, bowl season is right around the corner, and a lot of guys are going to wait to make decisions till after the bowl. And so I think Baylor, while they want to be aggressive, I think it's very important that they kind of get to see the whole landscape of the transfer portal before rushing any decision. Because there could be an all-conference guy that ends up leaving his school, and then, Baylor would like to be involved in that, and they don't want to get rid of all of their spots. So I think it's going to be a nice little chess match, but I do expect Baylor to continue to utilize it this year and going forward. It's been a real weapon for them, as we saw this year. They did a great job with the portal, and they've done a great job finding guys who fit their culture and their scheme, and that's been a key factor. So they're going to let the process play out a little bit, but yeah, I do expect them to take a couple transfers out of the portal this year for sure.
He's only been on staff for a little while now, as far as one of the 10 main assistants, but Caleb Collins, I've seen a lot of him in pictures of, some of these visits that have been taking place. Have you been able to pick up at all kind of the impact that he has had or can have, or kind of where he is as far as his recruiting abilities as a new coach?
Yeah, he's been a really important guy, I would say, for the staff this kind of period right now. It's been really important for him to get out on the trail and really start to get to know guys, because, he's got to build relationships quickly, because he's a little bit behind the eight ball just because he hasn't been the position coach for as long as, Joey was, for instance, during that time period. So, yeah, it's been really good for him, I think, to go out there. You're seeing him visit all over the place. It looks like Houston could end up being his area. That's at least where I've seen him the most. Now, that may change during the off season if they try to move guys around or whatnot, especially because right now, Joey recruited heavily in that Oklahoma area and, of course, Dallas. So they're going to have to figure out a way to reshuffle that. But, yeah, I think he's done a nice job. He's been out on the trail. He's gone and talked to recruits. I know Carmelo Jones had a really good time with Caleb Collins, getting to know him a little bit. And, he'll probably be his position coach at Baylor. And so I think it was really important for Caleb Collins over this last month, really, to go out, get to know the area even more, and get to know prospects and coaches and schools, just all those little things that come with being a great recruiter and building those great relationships. I think it's all a learning curve, but it's something that I have full confidence in him doing, because he was already doing some recruiting even before getting this position.
All right, Grayson, get some sleep. I know tomorrow morning you guys are hosting a National Signing Day show. You did the Bearcast. Craig and Grayson did Bearcast today. That's up. I just saw that on the site. Thanks for your time. Ought to be interesting. And the Tizino ad doesn't hurt as they try to cultivate their staff in class of 2022. That's Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim 365 recruiting analyst, with us normally Fridays, but with, of course, National Signing Day tomorrow, joining us today to give us a little bit of a sneak peek. Also, Jeremy Crabtree. I've known Jeremy forever. I started in radio in 1990, and there was a guy named Max Emfinger, and he was pretty much the only one that did any kind of recruiting type book. It was a book. It was like a magazine, a leaflet, kind of like a guide. And, of course, things have changed, exploded everywhere since that time. And you imagine that was always a segment. I could just say, we have Max Emfinger, here's the number to call, and the lines would just go brrrr. And man, things have changed along the way. Jeremy Crabtree, on3.com, next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Pickup Outfitters, not a bad place if you're looking for something a little bit unique. It could be bulky, but unique when it comes to a Christmas gift for somebody that owns a pickup truck, an SUV, or even a minivan. They can dice it up with accessories. Their store at 220 Lake Air Drive. Their store has not only the accessories and product to put on your pickup truck or your car, SUV, or minivan, even from the things that are just obvious, a grill, front grill, or even a bumper, or even liners, lay-in and spray-in for your pickup truck to make sure you don't dent the bed if, in fact, you want to keep it intact. And then, of course, the bed covers as well to keep things intact, safe, and away from anyone that sees whatever you might have inside. It might just be groceries, but it also could be hunting equipment or possibly your golf bag, including your clubs and much more. Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive. If you buy product from them and you get it installed for them, it comes with a lifetime guarantee, the installation guarantee, and they will help you with any kind of factory warranties as well. Jay Ehret, the owner, Pickup Outfitters, createacommotion.com.
The all-new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L is in stock. The beautiful, luxurious, elegant third-row seating carries the prestigious Jeep heritage. First responders get an extra $500. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited has total values of $2,400 or 0% for 72 months. It's the Big Finish sales event now at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrapped fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Jeremy Crabtree on 3.com. We've had Ivan Maisel on a couple of times, even the day he joined us during Big 12 Media Days back in July, before college football erupted with Texas, Oklahoma, the SEC, and everything else since that time. Jeremy's been covering national recruiting now for a long, long time. I've known him for it just means you and I are getting older. Jeremy, thanks for your time. Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak joined me as well. So obviously, if I said what's the biggest recruiting story leading into National Signing Day. There could be 10, 12, 15. But in your opinion, who will have the most successful day of commitments? Alabama, Georgia, A&M, Texas. Who do you think might get the bulk?
How about all three? That's what's scary, Smokey, is that we're in a spot where I see all three teams closing really strong. I do think A&M has maybe more shots to take, so to speak, or more guys on the board that could put them in the spot to finish with their first ever number one recruiting class in College Station. I think Texas might have a good day. I think Michigan's going to have a tremendous day. And I think Lincoln Riley, the former coach out at Oklahoma, out there at USC, I think he's going to close really strong too. So, but the real news is what's going to happen between Georgia, Alabama, and A&M for the number one class in the country.
Texas, North Carolina, FSU, Missouri, all in your top 15 rankings. LSU is always going to be there, but Stanford at 17, all didn't have good years, and they have top 20 recruiting classes. What do you attribute that to among that group of being able to rally through, maybe they're missing a bowl or not meeting expectations and having a good recruiting class so far?
No, I think that's kind of what all those schools are selling. And it doesn't hurt that both of them, or actually not both of them, all of them have landed high-profile local commitments. With Kentucky, you're looking at Kenyatta Goodwin, the number one five-star offensive tackle in the country. There is some smoke that he could maybe flip to Michigan State tomorrow, so we got to keep a track on that. With Missouri, they went out there and landed Luther Burden, one of the most dynamic playmaking receivers in the St. Louis metro area that could have gone to Georgia or Alabama, places like that. North Carolina's done really well in their backyard. So you got it. When you see a team and you say, oh, well, how are they there? You got to dig a little bit deeper and understand that, we know Mac Brown can recruit. He's recruited forever and recruited well. That's why Carolina's there. You see Florida State, they've done well locally. And then Missouri and Kentucky, they've got guys that just really jump off the page at you that are high-profile prospects.
Jeremy, the coaching carousel was obviously just completely insane. Who of the new coaches have the work cut out for them the most?
Oh, man. How about LSU? I'm going to go a little bit local. I mean, yes, LSU, you have kids that grow up in the booth, that dream about playing for the Bayou Bengals, but then you get kind of an outsider, so to speak, and Brian Kelly, that's not from the area, that's not the guy that is well known to the high school coaching community, other than he was at Notre Dame and he won a lot of games or won a lot of bonds there. So he's done a good job, I think, of surrounding himself with assistant coaches like Frank Wilson, who was a coach at McNeese and UTSA and was the ace recruiter on that LSU staff for decades. So he surrounded himself with good people, but other schools have noticed that there is an opportunity to come into Louisiana and get kids, whether it's A&M, whether it's Alabama, whether it's Georgia. So I look there. I also look at Mario Cristobal down at Miami. He's getting overwhelming support from the high school coaching community down there, and they want their South Florida kids to go to Miami. Problem is, they still have to build the infrastructure. They have to get better facilities. They have to get better fan support. So he's going to rally them. I think if he can get some of these kids like a Shamar Stewart, that five-star defensive lineman that was probably going to go to A&M at one point, but now is leaning toward making his final decision, and then that opens the door for Miami. If he can get some of these kids to not sign tomorrow, rally late here for the February signing day, I think Miami could move well. But I think both those guys got a lot of work ahead of them because that's just such a tough recruiting situation to battle with.
Jeremy, how much for what used to be, and I'm not sure, we know that there have been times when recruiting's dirty and maybe always has been, I don't know, but the NIL, we've seen the run that Texas has made with offensive linemen since they came up with the NIL. We know about other stories with the NIL. It's allowed to be done. How much has that changed in your opinion, or is it still just the rich get richer?
Well, yes, I think there's that. I do think that the rich are getting richer. You just look. I mean, you look at the class rankings. It's a second verse, same as the first. When you see Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M at the top of the list. Texas is doing well. I just think it's really creating that separation, though, between the haves and the have-nots, and it's going to continue to create that separation. I am going to be fascinated to see what happens a year from now or 2 years from now to really dig deep into these prospects' decisions after we get some data from a year or two in recruiting cycles and ask them, was the NIL your deciding factor? I think most honestly, it's probably a factor, but it's still not as important as the relationships that they have with their head coaches and their assistant coaches that are going to be coaching them every day, or the opportunity to play right away, or the facilities. I think it's kind of one of those cherries on top of the sundae if you're a Texas or an A&M or an Alabama, because if you're a five-star difference maker recruit, you can go anywhere and probably get good NIL opportunities. But I'm going to go fascinated. I mean, if it really is this reason number one or number two why a kid makes a decision, I have a feeling we're going to see it's probably going to be like part of decision number 2 or 3 here long term, and from a factor standpoint.
Is part of it now though that it's just so different everywhere that it's not really going to be reasonable to get a read, because Miami has a thing, Texas has a thing, SMU might have a thing, but not everybody's figured out how to so have a front, so to speak, for lack of a better term.
No, and that's why you see the NCAA, Mark Emmert, to the NCAA begging for the federal government to step in and try to get some sort of federal guidelines as to the NIL, because, well, let's be honest. I mean, I'm here in Kansas City. I know KU, K-State, Missouri cannot compete with the Texases and the Alabamas of the world, or even the Oklahomas. They can't compete with that just because of what they have to battle with. So it's going to be something that is just utterly fascinating to follow. And also, we're curious, we haven't talked about this, but how much the market might come back here, because there's been a lot of advertisers that spent a lot of money on some of these high-profile college football players that they didn't pay off on the field. And there's been some pushback talking to people in the NIL world that they might pull back and not spend as much in the future. So, yes, we're in a world where Texas offensive linemen are going to get paid $50,000, but are we going to see the world where somebody like Dr. Pepper still spends $2 million on a guy?
Jeremy, who are some of the main guys to know tomorrow for those who don't follow recruiting closely and haven't been paying attention to who the number one player in the country's been all along? Who are like a couple of the top premier blue chip 5+ star type of guys that we're going to need to know as college football fans moving forward? Well, the good news is that a lot of those guys are right in our ballpark in the Lone Star State. In Walter Nolan, or not Walter Nolan, he's committed to A&M, but Harold Perkins. Let's talk about him down in the Houston area at Cypress Park. 5-star plus guy, which means he's ranked by every recruiting service as a 5-star player. The linebacker down there just dominated high school football on both sides of the football. Dynamic. He's decided to wait and not sign tomorrow, so we're going to have to wait a little bit on him. But A&M was trading heavily with him. The further he gets away from that A&M lean, it might open the door up for an LSU in standpoint. But if you're an A&M fan, you got to be excited about Evan Stewart, the outstanding 5-star plus receiver prospect from Frisco Liberty. He opted out of his senior season, but was so dynamic when he was out there as a junior and did well in his first couple of games of the season. He is tremendous. I'm going to give you also a couple of other names here to follow. Travis Hunter from in the Georgia area. He is at Collins Hill High School, led his team to the Class 7A state championship this past week, and he's committed to Florida State. And guys, I've been doing this, like Smokey, you mentioned, I've been doing this for a long time. He's as close to a Deion Sanders playmaker on both sides of the ball at cornerback, a receiver, that we've seen in a long, long time. He idolizes prime time. He's going to be going to Florida State. I think he immediately steps on the field right away. And one last guy, Damani Jackson. He's a huge recruiting battle between USC and Alabama right now. He's a 5-star plus cornerback at Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, California. Mater Dei is one of the top high school football programs in the country.
Alabama, Nick Saban thought they had him, but now that Lincoln Riley's out there, the full court press has been put on him. It would not surprise me if he does end up a USC Trojan and Lincoln Riley's first major recruiting victory.
Jeremy, one thing I have, and thanks for your time today, a national recruiting analyst for On3.com. What's more important to win, National Signing Day or the transfer portal?
I think you're seeing both, to be honest. I do think regardless, you have to have the Jimmies and the Joes. I mean, we've seen winning the signing day where you can get the foundation of your high school class is so important. But if you can get those transfer portal guys, the free agents of college football, they could complement and supplement the holes that you missed from your high school recruiting efforts. You're going to be a winner. So the answer is both, but I do still think you have to have that high school foundation, and then you can complement it with the transfer portal.
Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate your time. That's Jeremy Crabtree, On3.com, national recruiting analyst with us. We'll have a couple of segments tomorrow nationally of what's going on with National Signing Day once we get more of those who put their names on so-called the National Letter of Intent. And, of course, look around at a couple of the other local stories here when it comes to what Baylor's done, but also the Big 12 and your school as well. And tomorrow we're going to rely on you as well as we do in the chat room, or you can tweet at us, or you could even contact us on the text line about how you feel about the class of whatever team you like the most, whoever it might be, whether it's a blue blood and or not. When we come back, the 4 o'clock hour, tomorrow, I mentioned yesterday we're going to have SMU football coach Rhett Lashley on. He had a flight delay, and so he's going to join us later in the 5 o'clock hour. So we're open in the next segment, 254-339-1122. There's a debate that we put up in the chat room because the prodigal heel put this up there. He thinks the SEC needs Texas and Oklahoma more than they need the SEC. And there's back and forth with that. Also, 254-339-1122, the text line's available. One of the things that we see is the NIL and how it's affected things, the transfer portal. Remember the extra year people have as well, and some can use it and some can't. We're going to get into that as well next, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
If you are looking to buy a new home or sell the one you're in, you need to call my friend Lance Donaldson, the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, 254-214-3713, or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com. Lance is a local realtor with a unique perspective. And look, it's a seller's market right now. You need all the help you can get to make sure that you get the best top dollar for your house, and that when you do make that investment in the new house, that you get the best value for that, because you're not going to probably make as much money as you normally would, because, again, that's all going to go towards the new house that you buy. So don't go into the market blind. Make sure you can get somebody into the house that you're selling to sell it, and make sure that you can get into some great homes and get some great deals on a new home. And that's Lance Donaldson, 254-214-3713, or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Genco has extended their offer till the end of the year. Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months. And have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. You can't pass on rates this low and make no payments for 90 days. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice, subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans and all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Hey there, it's Jay from Pickup Outfitters with a holiday public service announcement for all the wives and significant others out there looking for Christmas gift ideas for their man. They say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. At Pickup Outfitters, we say the way to a man's heart is through his truck. And there's no better Christmas gift for the man in your life than something for his truck. Would your man rather have a new bathrobe or bumper or a cool light bar, socks or a lift kit, a new wallet or new running boards? The answer seems pretty clear, doesn't it? Pickup Outfitters is your Christmas gift headquarters. Why get your man a hoodie when you can get him a slick new retractable bed cover? So don't waste money on a meat thermometer or sweatpants when you can get him a gift certificate for anything he wants for his truck. That's the way to get to a man's heart. Stop by Pickup Outfitters at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco or check us out on the web at createacommotion.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
At long last, it's time for some college football. Byrd Collision Ford proudly supports the Baylor Bears as they take the field this season. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Byrd Collision Ford. We have some great vehicles available this season as well, so come check out our winning lineup of new Fords. Let's cheer the Bears on to victory and celebrate by buying a new or pre-owned car, truck, or SUV. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sic 'em Bears.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, Mac Rhodes in the next segment, Baylor's director of athletics. Been a hell of a run for Baylor athletics, and I don't know when it's going to stop. You never know. You enjoy it every time you can, whether you're a fan of that school, Baylor, or any school that is, of course, your favorite. From the 254, do you guys think the NIL deals will ultimately backfire on the blue blood programs? I feel like players will not be as motivated as players with an up-and-coming as they would be with an up-and-coming program.
I think there could be some of that. I don't think that'll be the whole tale. I think there will be plenty of guys who are still motivated to get to the NFL, and this will be just a little bit of a nibble before, they get to their ultimate goal of making, true millions of dollars. But I could definitely see it, playing a role in creating some dissension here and there. If a backup, like what if Quinn Ewers is not going to not start at Texas next year, because if he didn't, that would just be hilarious, quite frankly. Like all this drama over a guy who's not going to start. But, having said that, I expect him to obviously start over Casey Thompson and whoever else is on campus at that point. But if he were to come in with some big NIL deal and then some dude beats him out, I mean, you think there's not going to be a little bit of an issue possibly there? Or, if some guy, gets a big deal and, another guy's better than him but's not getting the same type of love. I mean, I could see that creeping in. We're all human at the end of the day. You can preach teamwork and, teammates and all of that, but there's a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different places. And, you throw money into the equation and I mean, what unravels things more than that? Nothing unravels things, quicker than money in this world. So I could see it. I'm not banking on it though. Like I'm not thinking that like, oh yeah, it's going to be rampant or anything like that, but would not shock me at all.
I do think it's going to creates an upside down paradigm when it comes to, what you're paying for. Because if you're doing like at Texas right now, all these offensive linemen are going to go. And yes, they're very highly touted offensive linemen, and a lot of them are probably going to be really good. But you don't know that. We don't know that. That's the thing about recruiting is you don't know. And the reason the NFL reformed its rookie salary cap was essentially the Sam Bradfords of the world, who's an okay NFL quarterback, but he got $50 million before he even had to set foot in the Rams facility. So right now, college football is looking at something on obviously a smaller scale than $50 million for one guy, but at least for now. But when you're saying I'm going to pay you $50,000 just to come here, then you're creating a situation where somebody might put their own football best interest aside for the cash best interest and then may never play. And then the person who paid that guy $150,000 over 3 years before he jumps in the transfer portal is going to get pissed off. And then the model's going to change again and again and again and again because it's not necessarily sustainable in the way that they have it now, because eventually, unless you just have more money than sense, which a lot of people do, you're going to decide like, well, this little thing that we set up didn't work, so what does work in the long run? Yeah, you can't react to just, the couple times that it doesn't go right. I don't think it's going to scare off enough people. I don't think Dan Lambert down in Miami or, whoever's, in cahoots with Texas or any of these other examples, Eric Dickerson and SMU, I don't think they're going to quit trying because they're all just, trying to win. That's all that matters. So, hey, $50,000 if you've got it to spend, and It's obviously you got enough money to spend $50,000 on some random O lineman, then you're probably not going to hurt if you lose that money. So, you're going to have to take some hits with the miss, or take some hits. But you also get that right splash. That next Vince Young or someone like that, and that can turn into what you all did it for to begin with. So, it's not going to be perfect, but not my money. Certainly not my money. So. To those donors, boosters, advertisers, whatever that want to spend it. But I do think that there is going to be some pullback. There's going to be some, I would think, probably by some businesses after this first year of having a run at it. But it's going to be really interesting to see. For every Quinn Ewers, who's Garrett Gilbert? Who's that can't miss number one in the country? He's going to win multiple national titles. Like, how much would Garrett Gilbert have made in NIL money before he stepped foot on Texas campus? Yeah. And then what did that turn into? A whole lot of nothing. That's the other part about signing day is you get excited about it, but, these guys still have to hit, and not all of them do. And, NIL makes it more complicated.
There's no question. You would like to get the dudes that are what most people consider the elite type talent. However, you hear something that, again, when you don't get them, you have to find those who are fits. I saw Eric Mateos tweet this out, I think it was yesterday evening, about Jacob Gall, who opened up his career at Buffalo, was a part of a line that massed people, came to Baylor, and he's been a huge addition to what they are. He's a 2-star guy, and there's still going to be more of them than there's going to be 5-stars who hit, because you have to have the Army ants who cultivate or get better. One of the things that happens, you might get somebody who's a tremendous high school player, and you want them. If you can get him, listen, everybody would have signed Garrett Gilbert. Everybody would have wanted him. He was fantastic, and I saw him in high school, and he was as good as I've ever seen, and I've seen some great ones. But at the same time, is there still room to grow? Are they still able to get better, or have they peaked already? In many ways, athletically, physically, mentally. And so there's no rhyme or reason. That's why all the first-round picks in the NFL draft don't end up being in the Hall of Fame, right? There's a reason for it, and that's why you still have to have coaches who coach, who manufacture talent, but a quarterback that's ever played the game in college football. When we come back, Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mack Rhodes, will join us. Sikkim 365 Radio.
BetUS.com is the 3-decade leader in sports betting. And they've got great promo codes still going on. You've heard me talking about them for months now. SICM125 and SICM200. So use our promo codes, SICM125 and SICM200, 125% bonus on cash or a 200% bonus on crypto. And if you're wondering, what do they have? What kind of action do they have? They have action on pretty much everything around the world. So we can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game. Also, look, right now is a great time. NBA and college basketball, the NFL going on, the CFP, college football bowls, lots of great action on that. Prop bets, all those across the thing, and live betting and live lines on the NFL all the time at betus.com. Use our promo code SICM125 and SICM200.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% with $5,000 down cash for trade. TTL Extra. See deal for details.
Get the quality pre-owned car you need now at a price you can afford at Richard Car. Find great deals like a 7-passenger 2016 GMC Acadia for $225 a month, a 2019 Ford F-150 for $438 a month. Plus, get top dollar for your trade now. Richard Car. Pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and our aggressive lenders say yes when others say no. Find your next car or truck at Richard Car today.
At Richard Car, we give you more.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on SICM 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhodes, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhodes. Most Tuesdays, what a run that the athletic department continues to be on. The showcase on Sunday, the one against Villanova, suffocating. Dick Vitale presented a jersey by Mack Rhodes, in fact, who joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Whose idea was that, and did you have any idea how emotional Dickie V might be?
Yeah, so that's an idea that we came up with probably, a month, maybe even 2 months ago, and Scott and I talked about it and wanted to make sure that we presented him with something, and knowing it was his first trip to Waco, wanted to make sure that it was special. And I think we all know, those that follow Dickie V, that he's an emotional person, but I don't know that any of us, I certainly didn't anticipate that. And again, I think it was a special moment for our fans, and really just want to thank our fans for the way they embraced him, and the standing ovation, and the way they made him feel welcomed and loved. And his wife Lorraine, she's a special lady as well. And a quick story: Amy and I were in New York City. Probably 3 years ago, maybe 4, certainly before COVID, and we were eating dinner, and we happened to be seated right next to Lorraine and him, and they couldn't have been nicer, better folks, and just appreciated the conversation. So it was a special day because he was there, and because of what he's going through, and again, just really grateful to our fans and to our staff for the way they made them both feel.
Could you find a way scientifically to bottle the collective optimism of Dickie V and Scott Drew in the same room and sell it for humanity?
If there was a way that you could actually, bottle that and sell that, you'd probably have more money than Bill Gates. It's their enthusiasm, their zest for life, their zest for people is amazing, and it really is. I think it's a true gift from God.
We had was it Jerome Tang yesterday on the show, and I asked him about the way that the culture of joy has kind of taken over not only the basketball program on the men's side, but really it seems like the entire athletic department, Mac. And I asked him about that, and he actually gave credit to you and said that all kind of stems from you. Can you just kind of describe the culture of joy, what you've seen created over the last year plus, how men's basketball really seemed to kind of pick up that torch and run with it, and how others have followed suit, and what that's meant to your athletic department?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and that's certainly nice of Coach Tang. But this is a we team and not an I team, and I think it's been just collective by all of us. And we've had very intentional conversations dating years back about just who we are and what we're about, what is our why, what is our purpose. If we're going to do this and do it right and be special in this space, meaning college athletics, it's got to be so much further beyond the wins and losses, who's getting drafted, who's not getting drafted, all of those things. And we've had a staff, the men's basketball staff, and really now all of our sports programs that have bought in, and it's really cool to see. And we're cautious. We're cautious because I guess we never want to take this particular moment that we're in for granted, and we also need to be able to remain humble, and we need to continue to evolve, and in remaining humble, find ways to still be better, to still get better. You guys know, I'm a broken record when I say that Baylor's best days are still ahead, and I truly believe that. I really do believe that, and that's going to be the journey and that we continue to be on. But it's how you go about that journey, the people you do it with, and your why and your purpose. And right now, we just have an entire athletic department of really special people that have bought in, that have embraced this culture of joy and this idea of just impacting lives.
Tomorrow, National Signing Day for Dave Aranda and his staff, and of course college programs all throughout the country as well. Your thoughts with the momentum that he's built with the Big 12 championship, the appearance in the Sugar Bowl. What do you hear as you're walking around the hallways? I know you can't get into specifics as far as commitments, but it's been a pretty nice little run, and obviously they might maybe add another one or two pieces. But what do you hear as far as around the hallways?
Yeah, so I'm optimistic, and I think it was it would have been yesterday. So Monday morning, Coach Aranda and myself and Marcus and compliance team, right, sat down and went through every individual that we're gonna send a NLI, National Letter of Intent to, and so I feel good about the young men that are going to decide to, and their families that are going to decide to join our family. And Coach Aranda, as you know, is extremely active in the recruiting process. I think the staff has done a terrific job. I think we've weathered a couple little storms because of staff that left. But I think we're in a really, really good place. I am intentional about keeping up on recruiting. I know who we're recruiting. I know who's verbal. Who's on the fence. All of those things. But I expect it to be a really, really positive day for our football program tomorrow. And again, just really appreciate Coach Aranda and the staff because they work extremely hard at it.
Mac, we're one season, not even a full year, but this is the first recruiting cycle where name, image, and likeness will be a legitimate factor in that people can know maybe exactly what they're getting when they go to places. We've seen alumni at schools like Miami, Texas, BYU, and now SMU set up funds or whatever to create name, image, and likeness opportunities. As an AD, how do you grapple with that in the modern construct of knowing that you can't really do anything about it? You just kind of have to hope that your alumni, so that you can stay competitive, might do something similar.
Yeah, so I mean, we're certainly not sitting on our hands, and we certainly monitor, frequently. Every day, meaning frequently, what's going on in the name, image, and likeness space, and not wanting to get caught off guard, and certainly not wanting to fall behind when we think about competitive advantage, competitive disadvantage. Right now, where we are as an athletic department, we haven't lost. Recruit because of the name, image, and likeness. We haven't lost a lineman because they can go to UT and get $50,000. But that doesn't mean that we're stagnant and we're not evolving. I think for us it's finding that balance, threading that needle where we don't compromise our own beliefs on name, image, and likeness and its placement within the athletic department, within the Baylor brand, how it impacts team chemistry. Those are all things that we weigh and talk about and think about. And I think, there's a balance to where we can be aggressive and still hold on to those things that we think are extremely important. And that's not to say, others aren't doing the same. So I don't, I'm certainly not not meaning to say that about anybody. I'm just, this is about Baylor and where we are. So we're in a good place, but we know that this can evolve, it can change, and we know we may have to change and move in a different direction, or pivot to the left or pivot to the right. And we'll be, rest assured, we'll be ready to do that. And we are ready to do that. So right now in a good place, but continuing to be in an athletic stance and ready to go in any direction we need to go.
Mac, do you foresee any type of legislation on the horizon, or everybody being on the same page, or is this just going to kind of be Wild West like it is right now for the foreseeable future, in your opinion?
Yeah, Craig, it's another really good question. Craig, you're like on a roll. You've asked good questions today. I think, yes, the answer is I do foresee federal legislation, but I think we need to get through this next cycle of elections, and then I do think, as we get past that, I think there's probably more foreseeable to have federal legislation that puts every state, right, preempts every state, puts those states that don't have any name, image, and likeness law, so that we're all on the same page. And right now, the NCAA is taking a look at some different name, image, and likeness, quote unquote, programs. And are they something that we should allow? Are they something that violate the intent? And so there's some vetting and noodling going on, and I think that's going to continue to happen as well.
Mac, your football coach, as I mentioned, won a conference championship, and a lot of the openings around the country, you've discussed this with us about his name popping up, and even you mentioned a conversation with a reporter last week. What are the plans with him? He's under contract, but anything in particular that you're working on with Dave Aranda and his staff going forward?
Yeah, so, and again, I certainly appreciate the question, but, we're enhancing his contract, and we're at a point in place where we've verbally agreed to everything, and now it's a matter, I guess, paperwork and approvals and all of those things that you have to do. But we've been in a good place with Coach, for weeks, months. Again, as I've stated before, he has told me that this is where he wants to be, and this is where he's a fit, and this is where his family wants to be. And so I've trusted that. I think if you know Coach Aranda, I would take Coach's word over any contract that I ever had to sign with him, and I think he certainly trusts me. So we're in a good place. Just got to get through, just some of the paperwork pieces, and then, we're in the process of doing all we can to retain a really, really talented staff. I think, when you think about the odds, can you keep everybody? Will you keep everyone? I don't know that that's the case, but we'll try. And he's put together again a talented staff, but we've worked through a lot of it with most of the staff members, and still in process.
Mac, you have a new soccer coach, Michelle Leonard, introduced this week. Your thoughts on her and the hire and what that means for soccer program moving forward, and just all that, her joining the fold.
Yeah, and again, grateful to Coach Jobson and the foundation that he laid, and certainly our current student athletes. Just a great group of young women, and so Coach Leonard, inherits a program on solid footing, and certainly love her passion. She is a competitor, and really love that about her. She's got some firiness in her, and she's really good, tactically, scheme wise. I think she's really good in terms of recruiting and works really, really hard at it. And certainly, obviously, because of her time at DBU, knows Texas very, very well. And certainly will look to get into California as well and in some other areas. We believe that Baylor is a program that you can recruit nationally. And she's got great passion for young people and challenging them and pushing them and molding them to be great in everything. And so that culture of joy, that culture of overachievement, we certainly think that she's a perfect fit, and will do a great job here. So couldn't be more excited about Coach joining our family.
All right. So you mentioned earlier that you looked at all the compliance of the NLI. Did you now have to remember that's NLI and it's not NIL? And can you get confused with that?
Oh, yes, you can. So I've probably misused those quite frequently. So and staff has to remind me. But Wednesday, tomorrow, is all about NLI, and then I'm certain there will be, though, an NIL conversation throughout the day, some point in time tomorrow as well. So we'll try to keep those two straight.
Mac, your men's basketball program, that big win over Villanova, being number one in the country, third season in a row where they've reached a number one ranking. The atmosphere at the game, a lot of people still talking about that, and just the defensive, dominance. So your thoughts on this young batch of players that's come in now and seemingly hasn't really missed a beat, and getting a big win over obviously a very well-respected program and some national champs in Villanova.
Yeah, I thought, again, the environment was incredible, as good of an environment that I would think in the entire country. So again, really special thanks to our fans. And, that first half defensively, I don't know. I try not to be biased, but I'm not sure in my lifetime in terms of college basketball I've ever seen a better half defensively. I almost think that we played so hard on that end of the floor that it did, impact us a little bit negatively on the offensive side. But what an unbelievable effort. Last year you had an on-ball defender like Davion Mitchell that I thought was the best in the country. I don't know that we have anybody at that level, although we've got a couple that are really, really good. But collectively as a team, and I think what stands out, in terms of mismatches, there really aren't anyone. We have big guys that can guard out on the perimeter, and we've got some toughness about us. And again, I just think that speaks to the culture. And so, the Jared Butlers, the Davion Mitchells, the Maceo Teagues, the Mark Vitals, what they built and showing the model of our younger folks, the underclassmen, this is how you do it. And of course, all of that guided by Scott and the staff. And so now you bring in a group of young, talented individuals and they buy in right away, and you have a chance to, stay competitive and as you mentioned, now all of a sudden we're ranked number one, and we all know that, it's at the end of the year that we want to be ranked number one, but, to achieve that during the season, that is special. That means you're doing some things right and your team's competing at a really high level. So, sorry for the long answer.
No. Good. Mac, you know what I came really impressed with the other day was, and you really think back to some of the big wins that the team has had over the last couple of years, how the game plans are elitely executed but very simple in nature. With Villanova on defense, it was if they take a three, it's going to be contested all day long. And that's not anything that you have to like really, hammer home as hard as like it's not complex. There's not weaves and all these things going on. It's just they're not going to take uncontested threes, and that'll mess them up. And that's the beauty in Drew and the coaching staff is in their simplicity, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree. And, there's that saying that Coach Aranda says, do simple better. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like, you can use that phrase when you think about, describing, what we do defensively. And, I think this next game at Oregon is a really interesting and big challenge for us. And this is when you really think about maturity of team. And, last year we had a bunch of older guys. And so, you reach number one and you don't really worry about how they handle that and, them going on with their business, staying focused, not worried about being number one, but just being focused about getting better. And so, I know Scott and the staff know that about this team and are doing a great job with our younger players, but how to, our younger players respond and go play at, in a tough environment. And so I think it's a great test for our program this Saturday.
All right, you've enhanced the contract of your football coach, Dave Aranda. You're at a point and place where you've verbally agreed, and everything now is a matter of paperwork and approvals, and also in the process of retaining his staff as well. That we didn't want to let that slip by. You kind of like the question you've been having to answer from us for probably and others for a long time. How happy are you about that once it does actually get on paper? Although you said you know where it's going with him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'll be extremely happy for him and for Dion and and for our staff and those things are tedious and they're long and even when there's no hiccups, even when you're doing them with people that you really enjoy and respect. And so to be able to put that one to rest and to move on to the next thing will be good. And for our football program, I'm certainly excited about the future when you think about tomorrow and then you think about the football operations building and breaking ground before June of 2022. You think about our basketball programs and by the way women's basketball ranked 5th and they got a big game December 19th in Connecticut at versus number 13 Michigan, but Nikki and that staff doing an unbelievable job. But getting the pavilion and the development center, for that to break ground by June of 2022. So just a lot of exciting things, and the thing that's a challenge when you have just a short amount of time. What do you talk about? And I could talk about equally excited all of our other sport programs because those head coaches of all of our sport programs are doing a phenomenal job, and I expect our spring sports to have a great season as well.
Mac, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Mac Rhodes, Baylor Director of Athletics, with us on Tuesdays on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. It was about 3 weeks ago, I believe. It was, Baylor had to finish up the year with Texas Tech. And the only thing that kept this from being earlier and official is the fact that they earned a spot in the Big 12 championship game. So that moved back what Mac just said another week. And then, of course, you lose a week on the road recruiting because you're playing for a championship and you have to hit the road and seal the deal with some of your commitments and also add to your group. And tomorrow they'll have National Signing Day. And Mac Rhodes, if you did not hear, Again, they've agreed to a contract. It now just needs to be put on paper. And also he mentioned the staff as well. That doesn't mean that there may not be one or two on staff that still aren't looking at other opportunities or others are looking at them. But I know if you're a Baylor fan, if that is not something that you've been waiting for, I don't know what is.
Yeah, well, I mean, just wait for the first post that says, well, yeah, I mean, it's contracts don't mean anything. Like, there's going to be that guy, but, I mean, what more can you do? And I don't know. I refuse to believe it, quite frankly, because Twitter told me that Dave Aranda was going to be the head coach at Oregon. Twitter told me he was going to be the head coach at UCLA. Twitter told me he was going to be the head coach at Washington. Twitter told me he was going to be the head coach at LSU. Twitter told me he was going to be the head coach at Southern Cal. That's only 5 jobs. I know there was more than that, but there was some source for every single one of those, like guaranteeing
UCLA was never even open, by the way.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But that didn't stop a Twitter account I can see in my head right now from proclaiming that Dave Aranda was bound for Los Angeles because he's from Southern California. So, yeah, I mean, he's got a good thing going. It'll be nice to see that contract get finalized and, see how the staff shakes out and all of that comes out in the wash. Because that's the other thing that's coming up, too, is like you not only have the turnover with the rosters just in terms of National Signing Day, but don't they have to kind of get the scholarship situation back in order now?
Yep.
I mean, they got to do that. Which that could have some ramifications. And, yeah, then there's the fallout from post-bowl announcements, whether it be transfers or NFL declarations or coaching, moves. Because we definitely – there will be some coach after National Signing Day that, all right, guys, see ya. It's like, wait a second, you just told me to sign with Clemson or whatever. And, well, yeah, but that, I'm gone now. Now that signing day's passed, I'm headed to Miami or something. Like, that's going to happen at least once or twice. But, yeah, it's busy news cycle, that's for sure.
All right, when we come back, Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza, marcos.com, delivering to you whatever you want when it comes to the pizza that they have. And, of course, there's all sorts of options from the veggie pizza to a cheese pizza to the one that I like, which is the all-meat pizza, which has pepperoni and even bacon or Canadian bacon and or Italian sausage. And if you even want to put hamburger beef on there, you can do that as well. I like thin crust pizza. Some like the hand-tossed and some like it thick crust. That's what's great about pizza. You could put whatever you want on it, whatever sauce. And again, with Marco's Pizza, they have the 3-cheese combination covering. And it's very, very good. And, of course, nearly 1,000 stores around America, 4 of them right here in Waco, Texas, with Bob Mock, the owner, in Belmead, in Woodway, in China Spring, and the new one, of course, in Robinson as well. Marco's Pizza, what you want wings, they have that as well. Sandwiches, yes. Salads, yes. Drinks, yes. But they have damn good pizza. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long-distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside
side of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar. For those of you just joining us for the first time perhaps, or first time on a Tuesday or a Thursday, it's a little segment at 4:45. Just kind of take a look at some grab bag headlines, some stories that we might not spend much time on or even get to in some cases. Saw Stuart Mandel put this out just a few minutes ago, actually. The top-rated games in college football this year by viewers. Ohio State and Michigan, the most-watched college football game this year. 15.9 million people tuned in for Buckeyes and Wolverines. Second game, most watched this year in college football, Bama and Georgia. 15.3 million, so 600,000 less. And then Michigan and Iowa, which was another Fox broadcast. Two of the top three rated were on Fox. Three of the top five were on Fox. But Michigan, Iowa, the third most watched, 11.7 million. And there's a lot of Bama on this list. Baylor and Oklahoma State actually on this list at number 8. The eighth most watched game is they pulled in 8 million viewers. But yeah, you would think they would be dominated by SEC matchups, just the way we always talk about things, but it's really not. Like Bama UGA, that was a conference title game, and that's number 2. Bama Auburn, that was a large number at 10.4 million. But then a lot of it's, I guess then Bama A&M was another big one, Bama Florida. So it's a lot of Bama. It's not so much the SEC as it is a lot of whoever Alabama's playing that's a big opponent. But yeah, Ohio State, Michigan, most watched game this year, 15.9 million viewers. Speaking of ratings, Army, Navy. They had a nice little bounce back, averaged 7.57 million viewers on CBS this past Saturday. That's a 51% jump up from in ratings from a year ago, 54% jump up in viewership from a year ago. But you might remember that a year ago there was a bunch of other games on. It wasn't the typical weekend. So in comparison to when we last knew what normal was in 2019, down about 13%. It had 4.9 million viewers, but 7.72, excuse me. So just a slight dip from 2019, but that's a healthy number, nearly 7.5 million plus people.
And it was a great game.
Yeah.
And it was on its own at 2:00. There were other things going on, and it was dramatic. And it's Army-Navy. And even if it was 30-3, which it wasn't, it was.
There was a fake punt.
Oh,
I mean, there's all these
to a guy that said
wasn't
in
planned.
the post game that he didn't expect the snap. Did
Well, I
you
mean,
hear
you
about
could,
that?
yeah, you could see. I mean,
Otherwise, he probably would have tipped it off, and he hurdled the guy. It was great, and watching the two teams sing the songs, it's unbelievable. The only thing left maybe innocent in college football.
We got a couple of draft declarations. Would you rather hold off on that and mention that later?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, the big one for us in this area, the most notable, is Isaiah Spiller, Texas A&M running back, has declared for the draft. He was not alone today. There have been a couple of other players that have also committed to the draft. That includes Cal quarterback Chase Garbers and also Virginia tight end Jelani Woods. So they've all entered their name into the draft. But Isaiah Spiller, I love watching him play. I think he's a great player, good back, and look forward to seeing what he does at the next level. I'm not sure how he's viewed. I haven't dipped into mock drafts and all of that and won't for another couple months, quite frankly. But no surprise, I don't think, here for Isaiah Spiller to be moving on.
Well, I think it's weird. Right now, the only thing you can really rely on in a mock draft is the top 5 teams who are going to suck. So the top 5 is going to be what the top 5 is, although there's some trades in there. The last couple of years, teams have made some massive trades. But, look, right now the Lions are going to have the first pick. It's probably Aiden Hutchinson. After that, I don't know. And because it's not a heavy quarterback class, somebody will creep up there, but – there's no, it's not like a couple years ago. There's no Baker Mayfield.
No Trevor Lawrence.
Spiller had 1,000, basically averaged 1,000 yards his 3 years at A&M. He also caught passes. He caught 74 passes for about 200 yards a year, 1 touchdown, in fact, this year. I don't know about much of the pass protection because we always kind of overlook that when we look at running backs, but the pros sure don't. I like his body. I like the way he plays. I like his toughness. And I wish him the best in the NFL.
You know who I would draft, or what team I think he would make an immediate impact for that's already good, is the Bills. The Bills don't really run the ball with their running backs. As a matter of fact, they didn't have a handoff in the first half of that game the other night against the other day against the Buccaneers. Not one handoff.
Yeah, they're in a free fall. They're in a free fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Isaiah Spiller headed to the draft, Chase Garbers, and who else did I mention there? Jelani Woods as well from Virginia, the tight end, moving on. Clemson has announced their replacements for their lost coordinators. Big change in scenery there in South Carolina with Brent Venables and Tony Elliott both moving on. So Dabo, looking to replace his offensive and defensive coordinators, announced today that Wes Goodwin will take over as defensive coordinator for Brent Venables, and Brandon Streeter has been elevated to offensive coordinator to replace Tony Elliott, who is off to Virginia. Goodwin's been with Clemson for the last decade. He's a senior defensive assistant and, a big part of that program. And Streeter was previously quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator and has been there for years as well.
And Dabo does what he normally does. He stays pretty much in-house. Now, Brent Venables is outside, but Brent Venables came available when Clemson badly needed a defensive coordinator and one that was highly thought of. And Oklahoma had kind of, nudged him away.
Yeah, they did. I
mean, look, I on a top 5 the other day, I mentioned Brent Venables. I said, look, if I were him, I would take the Oklahoma job just to be like, oh, you need me now, don't you?
Yeah.
So-and-so.
Nothing wrong with...
But an alum was like, well, no, he wasn't fired. I know he wasn't fired, but it was one of those things of like...
the defense didn't get better after he left, that's for sure. And he had a lot of success and more than Oklahoma had while he was gone. So
he handled it in a classy way, too.
Yeah, he
I
did.
love that. And look, it happened. He had a chance to come back because of how he handled it.
Yep. One of the big sports notes from this past weekend happened at the UFC pay-per-view. Amanda Nunes, who has been the champ since 2016, UFC 269. She was submitted by Juliana Pena. Pena 11-4 in mixed martial arts. Nunez was 21-5, but she is like basically unbeatable for the last 4 or 5 years in the UFC. But they went at it in Las Vegas, and Pena pulled off this shocking upset, and now they've already agreed to an immediate rematch. I mean, they're gonna have the rematch. They're not gonna fiddle with her defending the belt and then Nunez down the line. But apparently, it's thrown out there by both sides, and they've already agreed to it. But Pena was, nobody's expected to beat Amanda Nunez, and if you follow the UFC, you know what a massive upset that was. And if you don't follow it, I just sound like I'm speaking, Japanese or something to you, but. That was something to behold. And just the reactions of Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier at the table and John Anik when they realized, like, oh, my gosh, she tapped out. Like, oh, my God, Amanda Nunez lost. It was just an incredible moment. And, the UFC just keeps plugging along, got a lot of publicity for that fight and as well as the main event. So, just an incredible outcome and incredible upset, in the UFC this past weekend.
She was fantastic in the post. She had a baby in her arm, and she popped a pretty big F-bomb. But she's so thrilled. She had no chance. -7, whatever it is. Just the biggest upset ever in that sport. And some people even actually think it might be the biggest upset in some sort of sports at all.
It's one of the biggest upsets I've seen in a really, really long time because Amanda Nunes just doesn't lose. And not only for her to get choked out, but to tap as quickly as she did. And she was actually, that was talked about after the fact because it kind of looked like, why did she tap? She wasn't, but that was a situation where she was going to be in the hole and she was going to be tapping anyway. So it was more like, let's get this over with and
pass out.
Or just get choked out. So that's what Pena said. It was like she had no choice. The way I put that hold on, she had to tap when she did. Also, you got to mention Charles Oliveira, UFC champ, a huge win over Dustin Poirier. That was another one of the big fights and headliners. And Charles Oliveira gets it done. So it was a fun weekend in the UFC as far as this past event goes. Have you seen the trailer for the new Kevin James, Sean Payton movie?
I have indeed. And
what a steaming pile of crap this looks like.
Yeah, it doesn't look great. And look, as a person who my entire life, when people say, what celebrity do you remind me of? It's always Kevin bleeping James, who I'm a big fan of. I do somewhat sympathize with Sean Payton here in that the guy playing him in a movie is Kevin James. So
well, it's I've mentioned it before, but it's now starting to get the publicity drummed up and getting close to being out there in the world. And so you can catch it on Netflix, and the movie will cover an amateur youth American football team called the Pee Wee Warriors, and they will focus on Sean Payton coaching his son Connor's football team and their relationship while they served out the suspension. And it did not take long for Twitter to go, oh, is it also going to cover all the nefarious things like Bountygate or, the Catholic Church stuff or, all these other things that kind of just like, all right, over here, we're going to focus on the movie and this cool father-son story with Kevin James. But I watched the trailer. I'm not, like comedies aren't like my number one go-to like they are for Paul, more so. But even if they were, this would not be near the top of my list. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in this movie at all.
No, and Netflix has two grades of movies. They have these really, really good movies that are like they're lower budget, but they have big time actors and they're amazing, like award show bait. Or they are the ones you used to see in Walgreens in the bin, and you'd be like, I didn't know Bruce Willis was in 7 movies this year.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they do. That's their model, is the direct-to-video model. So
I will not be watching.
No, it just looks it looks like the cheap Netflix, like you just put something out to put something out.
It's also on the heels of the one that's coming out in theaters is the Kurt Warner American Underdog, which I don't know how good that's going to be
that
either.
Looks even worse.
But
the trailer that I saw made I don't know.
That's a disaster.
I'd have to watch them back to back, and it'll be up somebody's alley, no doubt about it. But for me, neither one's reeling me in as a sports fan. I need something else. I need like Hoop Dreams Part 2 or something like that.
Yeah, not exactly.
A movie on
Hoosiers.
NIL. Yeah, Quinn Ewer's journey from Columbus back to Texas or something like that.
I would be interested if you could get all the text messages.
Yeah. All right, a couple of other notes. TCU football. I think it was Jeremy Clark that had this. They're going to be retaining Doug Meacham as their inside receivers coach. So Jeremy Clark had out there earlier today. The Las Vegas Raiders look like they are set to host Super Bowl 2024 at Allegiant Stadium. That's not official, but that looks like the route that we're going. And you knew Vegas is going to get that's a beautiful stadium. And obviously it's Las Vegas. So we've gone from, just a few years ago and certainly decades ago, sports can't even you can't even say the phrase Las Vegas, to now looks like Las Vegas is going to be hosting a Super Bowl in 2024.
Well, I guess they had to get ready and out of COVID and all that stuff, because that's what Tampa got the one last year, because it was supposed to be in LA and then they flipped it, and but Vegas is there, and I'm glad to see that they're ready to go for next year. So.
Well, a couple years. 2024 is a couple years away now. But, they'll have it all. I'm sure it'll be, as extravagant as all get out. Dan Lanning's contract at Oregon, there you can get more into the details. The contract's out there, or at least portions of it. But 6 years, $29.1 million is what Dan Lanning is looking at as the next head coach of the Oregon Ducks. And a couple more notes. You've seen there's a lot of NBA postponements going on right now. It looks like COVID is wreaking havoc on the NBA at the moment, and starting to be a few concerns about, how much it's going to spread and all of that. Not so much, I think, worried about the health of guys as much as just like cancellations and things of that nature. So the Chicago Bulls have had their next 2 games postponed as a result of the COVID outbreak. They're playing the Pistons, supposed to be tonight, and then the Raptors on Thursday. But those are the first postponements after they had 31 games rescheduled last season. So maybe the start of something, maybe just a blip on the radar, but just something to watch out for with the NBA. And Daniel Snyder, have you seen this story?
Oh, yeah.
Daniel Snyder pledged support for the NFL's investigation. His actions tell a different story. This from the Washington Post. Washington's owner took former employees to court, deployed private investigators, and was accused of trying to silence a key accuser. Basically, the Washington Post is going ham on Daniel Snyder and the fact that he's not really being mentioned a lot in this investigation, although he is right in the middle of the entire investigation. And, Paul, I don't know if you're scrolling it there or you were earlier. I haven't had a chance to read through it all. All I know is this is not going to be a fluff piece on Dan Snyder.
He's got according to the article, he's got private investigators showing up at people's houses unannounced. He's got, there's a woman that allegedly had a $1.6 million settlement paid that was, willing to talk about the details she could talk about, and then a letter was sent to her attorney that she could get more money if she didn't say anything. But she's in a dispute with one of the people who used to be on that legal team. This was what Daniel Snyder. He's reaping what he sowed, because whenever that stuff came out about John Gruden, the Washington Post, that maybe is also owned by a billionaire that might want to buy the Washington football team, is going to investigate, because it's kind of weird that the NFL does a whole investigation into the way an organization runs, and the guy who runs the organization isn't even mentioned in the report.
Yeah.
And that the guys who get in trouble are John Gruden, who doesn't work there, and Bruce Allen, who got fired.
Yeah, so that was always going to come back.
And so it was always going to come back. Now, I don't know how much of this is real, but this is what kind of goes on here. And, the Washington Post is owned by Amazon, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, which is a guy that the NFL would like to buy into their league. So I do wonder if the reporting from a paper that he owns winds up in him getting into the league somehow.
Yeah. And do we have time for one more thing? All right. Armstrong, you got that video talking about name, image, likeness earlier. I know who this is, and of all people to be talking about it, I know what this looks like, but here's Lane Kiffin on today's recruiting and name, image, likeness, and I believe this is from today.
I think people really say it this way, but let's not make a mistake. I mean, we have free agency in college football, and the kids a lot of times go to where they're going to get paid the most. So no one else is saying that maybe, but, the kids say, this is what I'm getting here for NIL, and so what we really have, it is what it is. Free agency has been created in college football. I can go, except you can't lock people into a contract. They can go at any time. So it's a new world that we're in, and sometimes they want to come to you and say, I get this much money if I go there. So this is just a whole new thing to deal with.
So there was Lane Kiffin earlier talking about NIL. I doubt that he's just been like a good boy about the whole NIL thing, but it is interesting. You see the frustrations, and even for the guys who can go out and spend money or whatever, it's still frustrating because there's others that can spend more. But there was Lane Kiffin, and I wonder where it's going to get to the point where the coaches just get fed up and are like, come on, man, like y'all got to do something about this
I don't think he was actually.
I love the fact, though, he actually said it.
Yeah, he said it.
Yeah.
And I don't
Good
think
for him.
I've seen a lot of people going, yeah, coaches can leave too. And Lane Kiffin's left for more money almost everywhere he's been, except for the Raiders where he got fired for cause, and USC, same thing. But I don't think he was not. I don't think he was saying it's like I can't. He was appalled by it. He's just saying, look, it's a fact of life and what we have to deal with. So as much as Lane Kiffin can be kind of a jerk sometimes, he's not wrong. I mean, that's what it is. And I saw Stuart Mandel tweet this. What college football is in 2021, 2022 is if the NBA and the NFL, everybody was a free agent every offseason.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like there's no contract. It's usually a free agent every single year, and that's the part that I don't like about it. Like there's just no guidance and there's no stability. You sign a guy tomorrow and he can leave in a year with no punishment whatsoever. And I mean that's fair in some cases. They're not hostages, but at the same time, like it's not much of a guarantee anymore. It's certainly not much of a guarantee on your return on investment. I know that's a risk anyways, but just saw this pop up in the inbox. Dave Aranda has been named a finalist for the Paul Bear Bryant Coach of the Year award. He is, of course, the reigning Big 12 Coach of the Year as far as the American Heart Association, that who presents the Bear Bryant Award. And he's joined by Luke Fickell, Dave Clawson, Jim Harbaugh, Kirby Smart, Kyle Whittingham as well, I believe. But, Dave Aranda, finalist for the Bear Bryant Award.
Earl Campbell, finalists have been announced. Sincere McCormick, running back, UT San Antonio. Garrett Wilson, Ohio State wide receiver. Zappi, the quarterback at Western Kentucky. Also, Abram Smith, running back at Baylor. And Deuce Vaughn from Kansas State. All of them either played in Texas or are from Texas. These young men obviously have had a great year, and they'll have the award and eventually the banquet announcement coming down the pipeline in early part of next year. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, in business since 1943. In business since 1943. With great product to build things, buildings. And they are specialists when it comes to building metal buildings. Pipe, steel, and metal. That's what they have. Heavy product, and they will deliver it to whatever site it is, whether it's something that maybe is at your ranch or you have a large area where you live out in the country, and or a site that's building commercial. They have great product, and they have since 1943, and it only gets better. And they're building their brand new building that will only enhance what they do when it comes to a distribution or having product available for you. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, 2 locations, Waco and Bryan, open Saturdays 8 until noon if you can't get by there or you want to go see them and look around during the Saturday morning time period. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, since 1943. Since 1943 at pioneerboys.com.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Jay from Pickup Outfitters here with your holiday gift-giving guide. So it seems the air fryer is an, air quotes, hot Christmas gift this year. An air fryer? Come on, really? First, an air fryer is not a real fryer. It has no grease. It's a mini convection oven. And you probably already have one of those in your house. So you're just wasting money on something that's not even real. You know what is real? A grill guard. It's made of real steel and it protects the truck of someone you love. And you can get one for that special person on your Christmas list at Pickup Outfitters. So avoid common Christmas gift mistakes like house slippers, a beard, nose, ear, hair, and eyebrow trimmer. Or a man purse? You better not. Give a Christmas gift that says, I love you. A grill guard, a toolbox, running boards, and other great gifts at Pickup Outfitters. You can even get a gift certificate to let them pick out whatever they want. Pickup Outfitters is the Christmas gift headquarters. 220 Lake Erie Drive in Waco.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
The Big Finish sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels. The new 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star Quad Cab has values up to $6,750 or 2.9% for 72 months, plus $2,000 bonus cash. First responders get an extra $500. Ram, the winner of the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Big Finish sales event is now at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The redshirt freshman quarterback has his team up 7-3 and threatening again. Throws for an open receiver. Touchdown. Drew Estrada. Wide open.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Somebody brought this up on the chat room. I don't have all the details here, but I did see where there was a player, a UT football player that was under investigation for what they call revenge porn. I don't know enough about the story. I'm not going to mention his name. I don't have it in front of me. But I do know Nebraska had a running back who was really good. I mean dynamic, and Maurice Washington, that had video of a woman. And I don't know if it was with Maurice Washington or whoever else. And he then starts to play football. He was good. He's a difference maker. They actually have had a few of them, but not enough. And then he sent that out to other people because he was mad at her. And he faced charges. And I don't know what the final verdict, but they eventually he was kicked off the team and left.
Yeah, if I had more time, I would have mentioned that. And maybe that's more of a story that would lead off the radar. But for any Texas fan that wants to say anything, I easily could mention that. But I read the story yesterday. His name's Ishmael Ibrahim. It's all out there. It's public. And, quite frankly, I don't think he deserves to have his name hidden if he's out there sending revenge porn. So screw him. Ishmael Ibrahim. Texas has announced he's suspended from all team activities. And apparently, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, because I was just reading this yesterday, but apparently he was a guy that was on the roster, or was supposed to be on the roster or something with Herman, and then I don't know, he was off the roster and then got brought back by Sarkisian, something along those lines. So I don't know what the deal is. I did see, just randomly Googling his name, some Texas fan 4 days ago going, I can't wait to watch the following players develop next year, and he was one of the ones listed. So I don't know what the promise for him was, in terms of expectations, but just a douchebag move. And it was an Oklahoma State student that he had sex with, and he videoed it, and she didn't know until he was into videoing it. And then once he told her, she was like, okay, well, just don't pass it around to anybody, obviously. And he passed it around to apparently another Oklahoma State student who I think may be a football player or something. So, yeah, that's how it all kind of got, unraveled. But, he's suspended apparently according to the university.
Also, here's a stat. I want to do this tweet. I don't think I sent this one from Jacob Unruh. We've had him on. He covers Oklahoma State, speaking of which. Bryce Williams graduated a super senior on Saturday. He needs one elective next semester. His choice for his elective is wine tasting.
Oh, that's awesome.
How cool is that? That was not available in the 70s and early 80s.
I'm just going to tell you, other party schools got to up their game if wine tasting is an actual class.
Well, when you get all the credits that you need, you only have so many options, and you're down to like Frisbee and wine tasting.
Yeah. I mean, is beer making in there?
I'm sure it will be soon enough.
Look, I'm sure there's some, like Tennessee has, and Kentucky have those great distilleries. I mean, there should be some sort of whiskey making thing.
Also, the state championship high school football games from Class 1A, which is six-man football in Texas, all the way to 6A, that starts tomorrow at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. And here's a list of the all-time single-season scoring leaders, and some of these teams, for those of you even around the country, might be familiar to you as well. At the very top, think about this, in 16 games, this is when they had the great Jonathan Gray, who went to Texas, played for a little bit in the NFL. Alito scored 1,023 points in 1 year. Gilmer, who plays China Spring Friday, had 950 when Jeff Traylor was the head coach. And then you see, here's Mark right in our backyard, and 895 down. Alito again, Mart again. Two teams that are playing this week are right outside the top 10. Westlake, and that's Todd Dodge, trying to win 3 in a row. He's going to retire at the end of this weekend. They're almost... if they scored 40, and I'm not saying they will, but if they scored 40, they're playing Geyer, they'd be over 900. They could shoot up to as high as 5, and they put up enormous points. Now, Geyer's good. Franklin, with second-year head coach Mark Fannin, they're playing for a state championship, and they're right outside that as well. They both play this week to try to get inside the top 10. Look at the points being scored. Franklin. It's just insane. 15 games, averaging like 50 points a game or more, 55 points per game.
All right, for the chat room, please type out phonetically how you say number 7 on the list.
No, how about number 4? Oh, that's the same thing.
Same one.
Okay, anyone on the chat room that's not from Texas.
Can't be from Texas.
Not from Texas.
Phonetically, how do we say?
How do you say number 4 and number 7?
Yeah.
And number 4 and number 7 this past week was beaten 2 weeks ago by Shiner, who's in the state championship game in Class 2A.
I don't think other states have this.
What do you mean?
I think in other states, when you see a name like that, it's pretty much how it is.
As far as pronunciation?
It's pronunciation.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think you can get to up into Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That's you don't have to venture far to get some names that do not appear to be what they look like. But yeah, I mean, Texas does have its fair share, and that's certainly one of them. And I've heard that butchered a million different ways before. Amongst some others.
All right, Chris in Missouri.
Nope.
No.
Red wine. No.
No. You guys are dancing around it, I'll say that.
Yeah.
But we'll let that go out for a little bit longer. That's awesome, Paul. I'm glad you brought that up because there's...
I'm curious.
Mejia, right now, Arizona Cardinals offensive lineman, Kelvin Beacham. The Mejia's M-E-X-I-A. Bexar County in San Antonio, in Bexar County, and it's B-E-X-A-R.
Hey, Colorado Springs.
Colorado City, Colorado Springs. So that's the list of the top points scored in a single season. 2 teams are playing this week. Westlake and Franklin are right on the edge of moving into the top 10. All right, 5:22 is the time. We're going to have Rhett Lashley, the head coach at SMU, here momentarily in our next segment.
Can I bring up this Swaim thing? Do you want to touch on that at all? Or?
Yeah, well, Fran Brown, remember him? He was a part of Matt Rule's staff. He's also got connections to Temple, whatever. He, according to John Bryce, reporting that Temple, looking for a new head coach, Fran Brown is on that list of candidates, and so is Stan Drayton, who's been around the country. In fact, I think he was at Texas at one point.
I think he's at Texas right now.
All right. His name has also been on the list as well as at least possibilities for that job at Temple.
All right, so there's a tweet going around that's getting people a little bit riled up. It's from Greg Swaim, who's been in the media for a while. I had a little run-in with him. I wouldn't even call it a run-in. I had a little thing where I shot back at him in a tweet like 5 years ago over it's like some miscellaneous Baylor football report where I just said, it was a lie basically. And I got blocked. And at some point, I think I got unblocked because I'm seeing it today. I don't know. I know that there are plenty of people when his name's been brought up that they kind of react a certain type of way. But he obviously has, some type of a following, has a bunch of Twitter followers and all that. Well, anyways, point being is not somebody that I typically go to for like breaking news. And this isn't breaking news to us either. But I just want to touch on it because I'm seeing a bunch of people freaking out. And I also saw an Oklahoma fan digging up my tweet towards Jeff Swaim from 5 years ago where I called him a liar. To try to make that seem as though what he's saying now is also a lie. But this is what he put out a couple hours ago. Bad news of the day. Looks like the Big 12 stuck with the Sooners and Longhorns until 2025, meaning 3 more seasons. OU simply doesn't have the money to buy out their contract to jump to the SEC, and Texas won't cover their costs, nor can they leave without OU. Now, I don't think we've confirmed every single part of this, but there's a bunch of people that are like BS and blah, 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 and all that. We've basically talked about this, right? Mm-hmm. We've talked about the fact they're not moving like right away and that there was a firm possibility that they were sticking all the way until the very end, but I'm seeing how like this is going semi-viral and the types of responses that he's getting. A lot of them are like, well, yeah, that makes sense, but a bunch of them are like BS, blah, blah, blah. So put it out there. He's not totally wrong based on everything that we've heard at all.
Here's the deal. Oklahoma cannot afford. They just can't pay the bill. Not that they don't have money. They have a lot of money. This is something that we've discussed. This is a little bit more specific on the timing because that was the timeline in 2025 when they have at least stayed course. This is when we're going to leave. We know they wanted to leave like yesterday. They wanted to leave at the end of this year for sure, and they were hoping the Big 12 evaporated, as were some others as well, but it didn't. And so then you kind of thought that the timeline would be when Baylor and the remaining schools in Iowa State and all those, and TCU, Tech, et cetera, Oklahoma State, would welcome the new 4 in July of 2023. And by then, Texas and Oklahoma could make their exit in some way. But it's not free. It is not just walk out the door. There's a lot of money involved. And there are still talks trying to figure all that out. That's now a legal issue. But yeah, the fact that Oklahoma can't make that payment. And here's one of the conflicts, and I'm saying this because I've heard this, and from someone who's been very good about this entire thing since the Texas and Oklahoma split to the SEC was announced, that Texas could have like just picked up the tab for Oklahoma with state money from Texas, and Oklahoma could pay them back. You can't do that. There's no way you could be indebted to a team that's a rival and from another state. Can you imagine the chaos that would have?
No, I mean, just politically
But we can't have, reliable heating in the state of Texas. But, we can float Oklahoma's bill to get the SEC.
At the same time now, the SEC or ESPN with a new deal or whatever they could do, because we know that there's a connection there, perhaps they could sit there and go, hey, we're going to help you here, and then whatever money you're making, 40, 50, 80, 90 million a year, with whenever that kicks in, you could pay some of that back. And it might be what happens with teams that are coming into the Big 12, either with Chapter 1 or eventually, if there ever is, and I think there will be, a Chapter 2.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to bring that up because I saw a lot of reactions to it, and then, like I said, I got a tweet dug up from like 5 years ago, so I was like, well, people are really paying attention to this, but yeah, I mean, that's them not leaving anytime soon is not a surprise, and we've said that. There might be a few more details in there, but that's the way it stands as right now unless something changes. And, of course, something could always change. Texas could go out and have a bad year next year and be like, we got to get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? But for the time being, settle in, folks, because we're not done with this whole OU Texas and the Big 12 thing by any long shot.
All right, I just heard Rhett Lashley has landed. SMU football coach will join us in the next segment as well. So there's a couple of notes there. Spencer Rattler to South Carolina. We mentioned that. That was kind of.
Did we?
Yeah, I did at the start. I thought I did at the start. But Spencer Rattler to South Carolina. It's a really nice pickup for them. I don't know what the connect. Is there a
Shane Beamer?
Oh yeah, Beamer, who's the head coach.
Because he's not alone either.
Yep.
Austin Stogner, the tight end's going as well. So that's Shane Beamer. That's what that is. And we'll see how Rattler does. I mean, he's going to be in the SEC, so he'll get that trial run before going off the NFL draft or whatever. And the East is plenty winnable. I know Georgia's looked great, but obviously not unbeatable as Alabama showed. Florida's got Billy Napier now. Tennessee's on a nice little run. Not where they want to be, obviously, but at least there's some building going on with Josh Heupel. So, yeah, that East Division could get pretty interesting. Now you throw Spencer Rattler and Austin Stogner. I think Stogner's the better player, at least so far in college. He's definitely the better, more impactful guy, I would think. But either way, that's two good pickups, and that OU connection coming in handy for Shane Beamer.
Well, Shane Beamer had a nice, I'm sure he's not exactly writing home about it, but they were 6-6 this year, and they're not too terrible at South Carolina. They didn't have that Zeb Nolan playing quarterback for most of the year, and that was a guy who was a grad assistant. So Spencer Rattler is an upgrade at quarterback. Now, do they have the skill guys around him? Do they have the offensive linemen around him to make it worthwhile? I don't know. Austin Stogner, like you said, Craig, those coming as a package deal is a really good thing for South Carolina, and they know Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer, I think can probably help with Spencer Rattler. And again, talent is not what ails Spencer Rattler. It's full realization and going full into, I think, being a good teammate is the biggest thing about Spencer Rattler.
A couple of notes. One other thing, again, Rhett Lashley of SMU will join us next. Darren Ravel and others are reporting that the price of a courtside first row seats tonight's StubHub for tonight's game between the Golden State Warriors and Knicks game is at $24,000 for a pair of courtside row one seats. I would have thought it could be higher because the money is just silly in LA, New York, or whatever. He is a couple of shots away, a couple of three-pointers away from breaking Ray Allen's record.
Who's he?
Steph Curry.
Steph Curry. I'm sorry. I thought I mentioned that.
For $24,000, Spike Lee should write a movie about me if I'm going to pay that at a Knicks game.
So there will be a Steph Curry movie soon enough. Like before he retires, probably the way we're going.
I'm just saying if I'm paying that.
I thought it would be $24,000 to $30,000 a piece because they can get that, but $24,000 for a pair of tickets. And there's also on the chat room, area code 641 tells me that he listens every day about the divisions in the Big 12. Now that we've discussed a little bit about Texas and Oklahoma, what might be the divisions? What would make sense, at least initially, depending on when Texas and Oklahoma are gone? I'm having a problem with my contact. The four Texas schools, Baylor, Texas Tech, TCU, and Houston, Brigham Young and Oklahoma State, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on the east side, it would be the remaining schools in the Big 12 plus Cincinnati, UCF, as well.
Which would be Oklahoma State, West Virginia, KU, K-State.
No, Oklahoma State would be in the other.
Not Oklahoma State, sorry.
So it all goes, and going back and forth. Also want to thank the 641 as well, maybe in the 419, who sent me a 24-team college football playoff, and then he's kind of whittled it down and where it might be. Very detailed. I can't get to it all, but I want to thank you all who text us during the show, after the show, and sometimes one of them today was at 4 o'clock in the morning. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. Don's Humidor right now. What a great place to get some Christmas gifts. What a fantastic place to get Christmas gifts because stocking stuffers with maybe a cigar or two or three, and they have sleeves where you could put in 3 or 4 cigars, 5 cigars, slip them in. Ask Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne about the cigars that they have. And if you have somebody who smokes cigars, like, for example, my favorite is the either Arturo Fuente Torpedo Edge Light, Rocky Patel Torpedo Edge Light, or Arturo Fuente, Macanudo, Ashton, and one that's really a great cigar is La Fontana which is also a torpedo tip as well. But if you're buying cigars for somebody for Christmas, if you're buying cigars and you want to get a box of them, you can, an entire box. If you need, someone wants a humidor for the cigars, you can buy that as well at Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans. If you want select cigars, but you don't know the exact names, you're not sure, you don't want to make a mistake, well, get a gift card. They have those available. And the CBD gummy products that allow you to sleep better at night. Take a gummy at night. You can nibble on one or eat one, whatever you want. You learn along the way. Allows you to fall asleep and save 30 minutes to an hour or more. Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Berg Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Berg Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sic 'em Bears.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott at edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
We will hear from Rhett Lashley, the head football coach at SMU, here momentarily. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. The chat room has been all over the place with different type of conversations. Some have been discussing NIL because the rich get richer, and can some schools just keep up with it? And some have even suggested that I think some of the Blue Bloods would love to have their own group of 40. And they compete for a national championship. To me, I don't know if that would work or not. I don't know. Maybe it would for you. And then, Craig, you brought this up. The college sports, college football is becoming more and more professional, not just because of the NIL, but just for a lot of different reasons. And you wonder about how many. It's a great sport. It's a great sport. But how many might be eventually turned off by some of it, if any?
Yeah, I think there's probably already some that have been. I mean, it's going to take a lot for me to be turned off entirely because I love the sport, but certainly it's not without its flaws or its things that need to be changed or cleaned up. I certainly think NIL legislation needs to be on the forefront of concerns because you don't have an even playing field right now, and you don't have much guidance either. So that needs to get taken care of and get done. But, knowing the NCAA and all of that, I'm sure we'll be talking about this still in 2 years and, how it's just the Wild West is the wild, whatever. But yeah, I've seen that discussion before. I saw people when Texas and Oklahoma joined the SEC talking about, this is the stepping stone to the Super League. And, while that talk was going on, soccer formed a Super League, and subsequently the Super League was dead in like 2 days or whatever it was. It didn't take long for that to die. But, yeah, there's some that hold on to that hope. I think it would, not be good for who we're going to talk to, a program like that. I don't think it would be good for the program that we cover on a normal basis, but I'm sure they'd find a way. And I don't think it's as appealing. On the surface, it might sound appealing to get big matchups every week, but I think that would get pretty normal and old, just like the NFL, pretty quick.
Rhett Lashley's the new head football coach at SMU. He was there as the offensive coordinator for a couple of years. In fact, he now joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Rhett, there's nothing for you to be doing on the eve of National Signing Day, is there?
No, nothing at all. Nothing at all. I don't know what I'm going to do tonight.
So how late into the night? Things have changed so dramatically in recruiting over the 30, 40 years, and obviously since I've covered it. But what do you do? How late do you stay up? Because I know you want to see those names start popping first thing tomorrow morning.
Yeah, every year is different, to be honest with you. And you're right, things have changed, especially when they added the early signing period. The majority of the kids sign tomorrow and not in February, but not all of them. But it's just a different feel than it used to be when that first Wednesday in February was everything. And, I just landed, been out of town. I've just landed on a plane. I'm going to go up to the staff room and with all our coaches, and we'll call all the committed guys or the guys that we're still in the mix with and try to talk to them one last time tonight. And then it just depends. Some years it's pretty quiet and pretty straightforward and boring. Some years your phone may ring at 12:30 a.m. and you got to answer it. If you don't, you're probably not getting the kids. So, it's just every year has a life of its own.
So do you have to put your ringer on super loud? Is it just attached to you? Like, what if you go to the bathroom? You have to take your phone with you? I mean, are these things you have to plot out during the, eve?
It pretty much. It's like that girl you liked growing up, man, and you don't want to miss her call. So if you miss it, you may be out. And, fortunately for me, I haven't been sleeping a whole lot lately anyway, so I'm used to being up right now.
Yeah, well, imagine, Coach, that stress, that's just uncertainty, and also excitement. I mean, it's been about 2 weeks since you took the job or were named officially the new head coach at SMU. I know you've been around at a lot of different places, from high school to college. To reach this point in your career, to reach and achieve the dream of becoming a head coach, I mean, what's this last couple of weeks been like for you?
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, there's a saying that's like drinking out of a fire hose when you get your first head job. I disagree. I think it's probably like 2 or 3 fire hoses. But I've loved every second of it, obviously because I'm really excited about being here at SMU. I believe in this place. I think it's a great place. I think we can do great things here in Dallas. And, I know we got good players on our team. We're going to sign some good players tomorrow. And you know what? We're going to still have some other spots left too. And, we'll have between now and next August till we take the field to go, try to improve our team and bring the right kind of people in here. I'm really excited about the staff we're putting together, and it's just a lot of fun kind of building the staff, building the team, and getting ready to start, what we want to do here.
I remember when Bill Snyder took over at Kansas State, he had to rebuild them through junior college football, and he did an incredible job. We know the story. Hall of Famer, he's rebuilt them twice. And now you have regular National Signing Day. Now you have the early one. Now you have the transfer portal. How important is mixing the two? And which one of the two, in your opinion, Rhett, is most important?
Well, I think it's important. That's the way our game's gone. Whether you like it or not, that's what we're doing. And so you better get on board and you better be really good at it. And look, the reality of it is the NFL still has the draft and they have free agency. And, us recruiting high school kids is still our draft. And you build teams through the draft in the NFL. And you build sustainable programs and foundations through your recruiting from the high school ranks. But the transfer portal has now become kind of our version of free agency. And so what it allows you to do is, each year you've got a hole here, a hole there. Maybe a kid left early to go to the NFL. Maybe a kid on your team left, whatnot. Or you just feel like you have to get better at a certain position to compete in your league. The transfer portal allows you to supplement your roster and try to add pieces that give you the best chance year in, year out to have the best team you can have.
Coach, we are very familiar with your quarterback, Tanner Mordecai. We did his games when he was at Midway. Your offense with his arm, how excited are you to call plays with Tanner Mordecai behind center?
Really, obviously, he had a fantastic year. Threw him a bunch of touchdown passes. And, I knew him when he was out of high school, and obviously went to Oklahoma. And he came here last year and just did an excellent job. I'm really excited about him. I'm really excited about Preston Stone, the freshman we have that I got to recruit for 2.5 years when I was here the first time. And I just think he is super talented. And I think he's got just an incredible future here as well. So we feel really fortunate to have those guys because at the end of the day, you got to have really good quarterback play. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, if you want to have a chance to win. So we feel very fortunate.
You mentioned you've been there before. You've been a part of the rise of SMU. What's it been like? Obviously, Sonny Dykes goes over to TCU, but they had a great little run under him. And just these last few years, it just seems like momentum's been building and building for a program that, as you know, didn't have it for the longest time. What's that been like to just kind of experience and to jump back into now?
Yeah, I think Sonny deserves a ton of credit for what he's done here and the foundation he's helped build over the last 4 years. And I was fortunate enough that he hired me on his first staff here, and I'm very grateful. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here right now. I feel like I had a good part in getting that started. In my last year here, 2 years ago, we won 10 football games, and that was kind of, I feel like, the breakthrough here. We won 10 games for the first time since the 80s, and we broke a lot of school records, I know, and that and we played a lot of good football here for a long time. Just a lot of things happened, but most importantly, I think winning those 10 games it gave our program and all of the players that were coming back confidence, like we can do this here. It gave our fan base, it gave everyone confidence and belief that we can do special things here at SMU. And then, of course, the last few years, having back-to-back winning seasons again, has just kind of continued that. And so now what we're creating is a winning culture. And when you start to create a winning culture, your players, they expect to win. And there's a lot of power in that. And so, that's where it is. And that's why I'm excited to be coming back at a time like this where we can try to build on that.
What are your thoughts? And SMU actually at least tried to do it as well as they could with Coach Dykes waiting until their last game or after their last game. And then, of course, TCU was open because Gary Patterson had moved on. The thoughts about how early signing period has affected the coaching carousel and your thoughts about how it's affected it so early in the year.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't know. We've got to do something to try to get a handle on the fact that, the early signing period has sped up the coaching changes and the cycles, which is just really not fair to coaches or to players or to people who love our game. And I think the transfer situation has as well. And so I think while the early signing period and the transfer situation maybe have a lot of good things for our game, we've just got to find a way to try to, maybe put some parameters on it that don't run our regular season, that don't do things where it puts everybody just in a tough spot like it has at times over the last few years.
How difficult is it when you have a kid that wants to jump in the portal during the year to reassess the depth at a position?
Well, it's tough, but here's the thing. Like, until just a couple years ago, kids never would have done that because they didn't have that option. And so since they didn't have the option, they didn't do it. And you know how many times a kid after game 3 or 4 thought, man, I'm not going to get any playing time, or I wanted to play more than or the year didn't start how I wanted to, but they didn't have a choice. So they stuck it out. And maybe 2 games later, the guy in front of them gets hurt.
they become the starter and have a great career, or they end up sticking it out and really good things happen. That happens more times than not. The problem is now we've given them a reason to or an option to just leave in the middle of the year. And that's not fair to the kid. That doesn't even protect the kid from himself. And so that's why I say there's got to be some parameters, whether it's, hey, in the NFL, they have free agency windows. There's certain times you can be a free agent. There's certain times you're locked in on the roster. And so that's what I mean by I don't think a lot of the things that are happening necessarily are bad. We just got to find the best way to do it to protect the student athlete and to protect, the teams. So, we don't lose the integrity of our game.
So, Rhett, your history with football, goes deep. But like I mentioned, you've been at a lot of different places. Also, set a lot of marks in high school as a player, time in the state of Arkansas, all the records that you hold and all of that. Where does your love for football, though, begin? Who put the ball in your hands, so to speak, to begin with? Where did that passion get ignited to lead you to where you are right now?
Well, if I'm being honest, I was probably 7, 8 years old, and I was, for whatever reason, I was a big 49er fan. Joe Montana was in his prime. Bill Walsh was out there doing great things with Jerry Rice and John Taylor, Roger Craig, all those guys. And that was really my first memory of pro football. And then I grew up in Arkansas. So Arkansas was in the Southwest Conference with SMU at that time. And those were a lot of my early memories. And then I had this little football, and I would play tackle football in the living room with my dad. And I just loved every second of it. He was a high school coach for the first 8 years out of college before deciding that he wanted to make some money, so he got into his own business and did a different career. But I would say that's when I knew that I loved it and played it every year. My first year was tackle football in the first grade, and I really never looked back.
Hey, Rhett, thank you very much, man. We appreciate your time. Congratulations on the opportunity. We appreciate you. Good luck tomorrow on National Signing Day, plus adding whatever else you do the rest of the way. One more thing, SMU, of course, has come back, and where you are now and where they were this year. They were a part of the conversation in the top 25. How would you tell anyone during this college football realignment that SMU should be a part of a Power 5 conference?
Well, I think you got to worry about where you are right now. We've got to worry about competing for a championship and winning the championship now. To your point, 2 years ago when we won 10 games, I was here when we were ranked again in the top 20. And we played at Memphis, and it was the college game day game. Fowler and Herbstreit were there. It was a shootout. It was a great game. Same thing this year. We climbed back up into the top 25 again. So I think we've proven that, we can play with and beat anyone. Look at the last 2 times we played TCU. SMU's won that game. And so, look, I think we've over the last 3 years been able to prove that we can win here and we can play with anybody. But we've just got to continue to build. Sustained success is hard to have. We got to find a way to keep it, and then put ourselves in a position to play for and ultimately win some championships. And, hey, the rest of that other stuff will take care of itself.
Thank you, Rhett. Appreciate it. Good luck tonight and tomorrow as well and going forward. Rhett Lashley, the head coach at SMU, he was there. He was a high school coach in Springdale, Arkansas. As Craig mentioned, broke some records as a player and has been at some Auburn, Arkansas. Obviously, he was just at Miami with the U and now back where he was under Sonny Dykes at SMU.
Yeah, they got a bowl game coming up in a couple of weeks. Play Virginia in the Fenway Bowl.
Jim Leavitt is going to be the interim head coach for that one.
Mm-hmm. So
don't be fumble.
Yeah, but SMU, they should be the favorite, and they're 8-4, and then you got the Cavs are 6-6. So Brennan Armstrong, that'll be a nice little test for that SMU defense. He's a good player and threw for a lot of yards. So, yeah, I would expect some points in that one. But, that's a couple weeks away. We haven't really gotten it. Bowl season hasn't just kicked off just yet, but we're getting close.
Yeah, and it does come at you quickly because it starts this weekend, as you mentioned, Brigham Young, as we mentioned, to Kalani Sitake. When we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5. Man, a lot to get to. If you missed us earlier, Mack Rhodes, Baylor's director of athletics, when we asked him about, was he now in position, now that Baylor's finished out their season, now that Dave Aranda and his staff have been on the road to play catch-up after playing in a championship game, where were they on Dave Aranda and the future? And he said that they have agreed in principle basically to the contract. They're now waiting for just some of the paperwork to be done, and also talked about trying to make sure they retain his staff. He did mention that, yes, there's going to be other teams that might go make a run at one or two of Dave Aranda's staff, but he wanted to make sure that they try to take care of them as well. And so that is something we've been telling you about for quite some time, and Mack put it down in his own words today. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitchie Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitchie Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitchie Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitchie Group at 1-800-258-8302.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'em125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'em200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'em125 and SICK'em200.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% with $5,000 down, cash or trade. TTNL Extra. See deal for details.
Get the quality pre-owned car you need now at a price you can afford at Richard Car. Find great deals like a 7-passenger 2016 GMC Acadia for $225 a month, a 2019 Ford F-150 for $430 a month. Plus, get top dollar for your trade now. Richard Car. Pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and our aggressive lenders say yes when others say no. Find your next car or truck at Richard Car today.
At Richard Car, we give you more. Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 dark horse teams to watch in 2022. These are teams that closed the year well or maybe made a move or so that I think people need to look out for coming up next year. One group of 5 school to start it out. Number 5, North Texas. Closed out, got into a bowl game, and at one point during the year, Seth Luttrell was on the hot seat. But closed out strong. I think Conference USA's got to watch out for North Texas next year. The way they closed this year and United, and another year with Phil Bennett's defense might be good for them.
When you say dark horses,
like people you're not going to talk about.
Okay,
Like we're going into next year, everybody's going to talk about the run of the mill people. These are, and some of these schools are big names, but they're not going to be talked about maybe at the top of their conference. But people to watch out for.
They ended the season on a tremendous note and beat UT San Antonio. Ended up their unbeaten season. Okay.
Yeah. Well, if they didn't do that, then where would UTSA be right now?
Yeah.
I mean, how would the playoff have done that? No one got happier about that win by North Texas than the playoff committee probably did, if they even care a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, they're going to lose some good guys like DeAndre Torrey, a great running back. He's going to be gone. He's been a mainstay there. So they'll lose some players like that, but everybody's going to lose somebody. So, yeah, I mean, the way that they turned it around, it certainly looked like Luttrell was probably, feet to the fire. And now he's cooled off a little bit, and they can kind of start looking forward to next year. So, yeah.
Yeah. Number 4, Wisconsin. This was a team that started out the year really bad, closed out pretty well. Now, granted, they didn't really beat any of the big boys, but they won the games that they were supposed to ultimately. Curious to see how Wisconsin next year, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to, like everybody is going to, but try to mix it up in the transfer portal and get a quarterback who can actually do some things. If they actually do improve the quarterback position at Wisconsin, they can be a real threat. But that's what's kept them out of the top tier of the Big Ten the last few years, is the fact that their quarterback position has been very blah.
It might be an idea now that you've mentioned them, and what keeps them back is that, or what's held them back is the top 5 schools that need a quarterback.
Yeah. I might do that one tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah, because I will pretend like National Signing Day doesn't happen. No. Number 3, Kansas State. Health at quarterback was fundamental for them this year, and Skylar Thompson was hurt a couple of times. I think if they, and now granted, they might be getting into a business that's pretty scary, Smokey, at Kansas State when it comes to their quarterback. If they get in the transfer portal, it's rumored there. You've lived it.
Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, Martinez. Adrian Martinez.
Adrian Martinez. Now, granted, I do think that Chris Kleiman's offense of refusing to take big chances will probably work a little bit better than Scott Frost, where he got hooked on the Adrian Martinez highs of, oh, look at this kid. He's so athletic. Let me go and put him in positions to be athletic, when in key moments, those positions also put him in a place where he was going to fumble.
The thing about Kansas State, and again, I am an Adrian Martinez fan because he's a good kid, and there are times he's explosive, amazing, but that's an offense where the quarterback has the ball in his hand, not just because he takes the snap. They like to run the quarterback, and he's a spectacular athlete with amazing speed and all that, but he fumbles a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's the anti-Kansas State. Well, it's the anti-anybody, but especially an offense like that.
Well, I mean, they were embarrassingly bad without Skylar Thompson in the lineup, and that's far too strong of language, but I get annoyed when I talk about Kansas State because they were so dependent on their quarterback, and one quarterback in particular. And I know you could say that about a lot of teams, but Baylor won a Big 12 title with their backup. Mm-hmm. A lot of other teams ran through, like look at Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler didn't work out, preseason Heisman favorite. Okay, here's Caleb Williams. Soon as Skylar Thompson got hurt, they're screwed. They're just done. They're done. And we saw that again this year. And then he comes back, and guess what? They're good again. Like all of a sudden they're good. And so, yeah, I mean, the best news about Skylar Thompson moving on is that you're not going to lose him anymore, and now you don't have him. So, yeah, get that quarterback room right and get some guys ready, because if you had that ready and guys a little bit better prepared or seasoned, then maybe it wouldn't be such a drop-off every time one guy is missing out of the lineup.
Yeah. Number 2, Virginia. Tony Elliott's going there. They've got a quarterback returning in Brennan Armstrong, who's pretty good, or supposedly returning. I mean, he said he's
coming back.
He's coming back. I mean, he made a comment of it's either here or the NFL, but I mean, which makes me think like at least he's thought about it, but he's not a guy who's going to be drafted high in the NFL, and he's someone who will benefit from Tony Elliott being there for a year. I think Tony Elliott plus a quarterback quarterback who's got enough skins on the wall here. Now Virginia has other issues, defense and all that, but I do think Virginia may be a team to watch in year one, at least offensively, with Tony Elliott getting in there.
Well, the ACC is nothing to get crazy about. I mean, there's no team that you just look at and you go, oh, yeah, there's the Clemson for next year. You're not even saying that about Clemson. We don't know what they're going to look like, quite frankly. So, yeah, I mean, the ACC's, there for the taking if somebody wants to go on a run. And, I'm very intrigued by Tony Elliott and what he's going to do. Brendan Armstrong has thrown a bunch of freaking passing yards. I mean, he's got an arm on him. And, like you said, I guess – apparently it is the NFL or Virginia, and he's just saying he's not going to transfer no matter what. So it'll be pros or staying in college. But if they get him back, that would be very good news for the Cavaliers.
He was just hired, Elliott. Who's going to so he will handle everything. He'll handle the offense, the court. So that's a perfect fit for him, yeah.
Yeah,
perfect.
I think so. And that's Dabo Swinney said as much in his press conference today that said that when Tony Elliott came to him, he said, yeah, that's the one. That's where you need to go. That's the one you kind of been waiting for.
I think that's kind of a sleeping giant of a team, too, like just as far as the part of the country and the resources. And, I mean, I know they're never spoken about like the way even the Virginia Tech is spoken about, but I feel like Virginia, academics is great. That could be a place. Like the right person can make that a place.
Yeah, they just haven't been able to figure that out for a very, very long time. At number one, and this is just based on the transfer portal news of Austin Stogner and Spencer Rattler, is South Carolina. Look, Shane Beamer already making waves, and if he can get maximum out of Spencer Rattler, that's a team in the SEC East. Now, granted, they still got to go through Georgia, but look, Florida's down, Tennessee's whoever. Billy Napier right now he's working with a 61st ranked recruiting class coming in, so you can't expect big things out of Florida in the first year, and I think they know that. So outside of Tennessee maybe slightly on the uptick, and of course the big bad wolf of Georgia and the SEC East, you could maybe make some noise. This could be kind of maybe an Arkansas situation in the SEC East.
Yeah, potentially, and good news for them. Unlike Arkansas, they don't have to go through that juggernaut of a schedule necessarily, because that Arkansas thing started off hot and then just kind of simmered. Never got like cold or anything, but just simmered a little bit. But I mean, obviously they've had a huge upgrade at quarterback. I mean, even the parts of the Spencer Rattler game that you may not like or maybe is a little bit more of a weakness at times, it's still a major upgrade over what they had with Zeb Nolan back there throwing passes, and they had a revolving door there at quarterback. So just to have a guy, I think is going to be a big deal for them, especially somebody who's got a little bit of star power. I think Stogner, that's a tremendous pickup as well. I think that's as notable as anything else. But obviously with their quarterback situation, getting Rattler's huge.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. The top teams that might be a nice little story next year. And last year, if you would have had a top five, maybe you had UT San Antonio or somebody else like that. And there's some schools that somebody brought up, Houston. They were already good. They played for a conference title.
But, with Alton McCaskill coming back and Clayton Tune coming back and, whoever else, Alton McCaskill's freaking good, man. And I'd expect him to have a monster year next year. And Tune coming back, Houston's going to be primed and ready.
For Jack McKenzie and Armstrong Sims, Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, I'm David Smoak. Thanks to all of you who watch or listen. Like us in the button. Appreciate that. Subscribe if you haven't. We appreciate everybody, whether you're listening, watching, or both, and our incredible sponsors that allow us to grow every day. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.